We will call this meeting in November 12 to order. And in honor of Veterans Day, we'll have Staff Sergeant Jim O'Rourke lead us in pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Present.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Present.
Chairman Wessel,
Here.
Commissioner Ross. Here. Commissioner Alguier. Here. Commissioner Lautner. Present. All present.
We have a proposed agenda. Yes, Mr. Lewis.
I know I gave you all a heads up, but I'd like to have item number 10F removed from the agenda. I know I gave my explanation yesterday, but bottom line is that in our transition, one of the aspects of that transition dealt with contract negotiations, and I'm not ready to recommend the getting of stipends for probably another month at the least. So because of what I saw happening on Friday morning, that expertise is needed now as part of our transition. Most of the folks that have come over or started with the county in finance, in fact, all of the finance as well as human resources, have not had the experience of going through contract negotiations. And there's a lot of the knowledge that is here, the history department over there, that we need to get into theirs. And so I'm not ready to follow through with the recommendation that I prepared in the packet.
Mr. Richter.
I respectfully would like to keep that item on the agenda.
I appreciate I appreciate, Richard, your comments about negotiation. I think that's a very also another very good reason to continue this, but I don't think we've met the and it would be in discussion if you leave it on, but I don't think we've met the criteria yet for removing. So for sake of moving along, I would recommend approval of the agenda minus 10F.
Support.
All those in support of the motion.
Is there further discussion? Did you say?
Well, if you look back at the motion, we would have to go back and either change our motion from previous or make a different recommendation in the way I understand it. Because even though we were in the middle of an interim administrator, and originally we thought we would be with the CFO, but we don't have our full-time administrator on board yet. And it's an infant department still. So I just think that we should.
So we have a motion to amend the agenda and it's been seconded. I think if we're going to discuss that issue, it ought to remain on the agenda. But all those in support of removing that from the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those in support of the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We have an agenda. And we'll hear your concerns then when we get to
I've
that.
already
end.
given my concerns. You won't hear another word out of me.
Okay. We now have communications proclamations. Mr. Lewis.
Couple of things. I haven't heard yet whether the Leelanau Township Planning Commission will be uptaking our amended SLUP application on this Thursday night. I haven't seen the agenda and I haven't seen any notification of such. But just know that the last communication that I had with the Leelanau Township planner, that was his intent. If it does take place, I will let you know in advance that it is happening, so we'll see what happens from there. Second, just want to remind everyone that our public hearing on the proposed budget that's in front of you will take place at our meeting next Tuesday night at 7:15. It will not take place at 7:14, at 7:15. It could take place at 7:16, but not until 7:15. So just want you to know, this is nothing that you needed to approve because it's all part of state law and statutory. And as you know, through our packet of information, this is when we set the public hearing. You can adopt the budget afterwards if you so like, or you can, whatever action you want to take after, but we still have to conduct the public hearing regardless. So just want to remind everybody. So,
Why the time? Why not like 6:45 or 6:30? Just do it right during the regular board meeting, so.
okay, it has to happen at a regular board meeting.
Okay.
Thank you for that update. So, okay, other than that, I have an introduction of Mr. Patrick Roach. Where he is, there he is back there. No, that did not happen since he arrived here at 9 o'clock this morning. Mr. Roach is our facilities director. It starts today. Of course, today will be the day that he gets to hang around with the crew, but also get all of his paperwork done so that we can have him officially on board. So we're happy to have him. And you can see that he and Jerry are already holding together. You know, there's going to be a mind meld that's going to take place there, hopefully, you know, between here and the end of December. So we appreciate you joining us. Thanks.
Does Mr. Roach want to say anything?
Do you want to say anything, or do you want to say hi, everybody?
I just want to say hi, everybody. So, this is a short walk. I worked with the Marine Division this last summer, so just walked across the parking lot over here. I'm just excited to be over the county.
Welcome.
Everybody, if you make sure your mics are turned on, mine wasn't, so.
I think the clerk is going to be a part of your administrative.
Oh,
reports.
yes. A quick update from our county clerk, Michelle Crocker.
You all look exhausted.
You look beautiful too.
Oh, good one.
Zing.
As you know, we're currently the Board of County Canvassers. Began canvassing the unofficial results from Tuesday, November 5th, last Thursday and Friday. During this process, late afternoon on Friday, the canvassers discovered within the unofficial results posted in the early hours of Wednesday morning that the early voting site results did not connect to our central election management computer, although the process that we have followed from all prior elections was the same. As I stated in the email I sent to you, although the role of the canvassers may appear to be mundane in nature, the process that was discovered on Friday shows that the process works as it should work, and that is why all results that are posted on the website and so stated are unofficial. Also stated on there, just like the townships of Cleveland, Empire, Cassidy, and City of Traverse City report absent voter ballots with live precinct voting totals. That's why you see some voters totals with live, you see some with absentee, and then you see early voting. The County Board of Canvassers is still canvassing, and the unofficial results have been updated. They were updated Friday late with still unofficial results. And please remember that until certified, all results are unofficial, and continuous updates will be made as necessary until all election results are made. When this was discovered on Friday, the canvassers were to our last voting precinct, which was the early voting site. What they work with are tapes that are probably 100 yards long, and they began to take their statement of votes and look at the tapes because the paper tapes is what we go by. The reports that are uploaded are just uploaded for viewing, perhaps in the future they won't be, or whatever. But this shows that the process that is in place works. It shows that there's security. To debunk a few things, no votes were not counted. All votes were counted, all votes were tabulated. It would appear, if you've read any of the information on Live for the state of Michigan, that they believe that there was human error, but again, emphasize this is what we expect to find when we canvass. We would hope not to find this. There were 4 other counties that had similar issues, Kent County, Calhoun County, Allegan County, and Leelanau. Leelanau being the most. In Calhoun County, it's, some of their commissioner races may also change. So it's basically that there were no votes missing, there were nothing. It was an upload that went in the way we've always done it. Like every process, we try to figure out what can we do different, what can we do different. The keys to us on the screen are the same. We do not canvass, it's the board of canvassers that does it. But we know emotions are running high, we know emotions are clouding perspective. One of the questions that I do want to clear up very quickly, and one of my canvassers is here, I don't believe he's going to speak, he's always free to, of course, was why was the Board of Commissioners not notified quicker or first? When this occurred, and it was brought to my attention, we have protocol we have to follow. And no offense to any of the Board of Commissioners, but you are not top in the list of who's going to be called when you have an election issue like this. We have to call the state of Michigan, as I did. I have to call the vendor to figure out what is the disconnect here. I have to call candidates. And our Democratic canvasser that's here can tell you that once I went there and we were looking at this and doing it, I had to come back into the room to say, and there were only 6 people in this room, whoever is calling the media, it's not that we're looking to keep this from the media, we are going to have full disclosure. But it was already reported to the media while I'm trying to make phone calls to candidates. And it is what it is. I have to deal with it. And I could tell because of the questions I started to get that I have to say, whoa, how do you know when there's 6 people sitting in this room and I'm trying to make contact with people? And I'm trying to call them. I've got people that have their cell phones, they're not answering them. I have to leave messages. I have people whose boxes are filled and they're not taking messages. I am searching people I can find because as the filing official for my county candidates, I need to call them. I realize there is a desire to put someone's head on a platter. I also realize on behalf of the Board of Canvassers, it is my head. I've had nice emails. I've had a couple really terse, and it's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. But it just comes with the territory. But I cannot emphasize enough to folks because of instant gratification in posting these results, they are unofficial. We have become accustomed to them becoming the rule and the way it's going to be. I am quite sure of the emotions, for example, that Commissioner Ross went through, or I see Lois here. I don't know if Scott's here or not. The emotional, whatever, because you're seeing unofficial results, and I can tell you no one's registering unofficial in their head. They're thinking this is it. So I get it. Those are not easy calls to make. I had to make them. I didn't see anyone else volunteering to make them. But I am the clerk to the Board of Canvassers. Everything is under their jurisdiction. I know that it gives no comfort to those that had this, but all votes were tabulated. all votes submitted were counted. There were no missing ballots. That is why things are backed up in paper. When the Board of Canvassers goes through this, they have that tape that is certified by those election workers that these are their totals. Now, we are going through the process. We do not perform the canvass. But now, as soon as one of the canvassers and I looked at it, because we're like, okay, as soon as I grabbed the chairman's tape from him and said, what do you mean you're not here? I can see now the pattern, but we do not canvass. That is not a function of us. It is a function of a bipartisan group of people under the law that have this. I can see the pattern if I just look at the president's votes. I can see it, the 16, 14, 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, 18, 16. I can see the pattern there of public logic and accuracy testing because you're not dealing with vote totals. So what you saw when those 3,156 votes were uploaded and the totals combined in this report, that's where you see these numbers in the actual offices increasing. You don't see as large of an increase on the total number of voters. We were at 80.88% and it was at 16,253. And when those numbers were uploaded and stuck this time, it increased it to 17,827. Because if in fact it was logic and accuracy testing in there, there was a differential between the 3,156 and the public act or the logic and accuracy testing. Because then when you go and you look at it, just from the sheet that I was reading from, which I think was President. So what was recorded as, let's say, 18 votes in the Trump-Harris race went up to 153. That's the Harris race. The Trump-Vance race, where it showed originally 16, should have been 300. And that is the difference between, because when you're doing your logic and accuracy testing, which is a different commission, that is the election commission's function. The election commission is not involved with the canvassing board whatsoever. Now, one other thing that people don't realize, so when those are up, you're going to see the difference. This was a heavily voted site. It is also the biggest upload that we do of the night. And I've learned a couple things since that, and I've read all of the information. Another thing that voters don't realize, we will be back to canvassing tomorrow, which is at 9 o'clock here. We're going to continue where we left off, so we're not starting public comment or anything like that. Also, because yesterday was a holiday, today is the deadline for move ballots. And move ballots that are postmarked on or before Election Day of November 5th have 6 days to reach us, or reach the township. Let me say that, they reach the township.
Explain move, because I had to have
Movers
yours.
are military and overseas voters. And if they are received within that 6 days by the local clerk and postmarked by November 5th, they have to be brought to me. Yesterday, when I was counting, I haven't looked to see what clerks were in there updating. I saw approximately 30, and I say approximately 30 because if I run the report today, they may have gotten a couple in. I did do a grid because one of the races that came down to 7 votes, but I wanted to see how many potential move ballots are out there, and if they can come back. Some of them will not come back. If they come back, this will be the first election we've ever had move ballots after the deadline return. There are not enough move ballots unofficially, based on very limited information that are going to change those results. That is my prediction. But again, they are unofficial, and I received an email from one of my fellow county clerks down in Kent County because they had some huge issues. And I just want to read this to you because I think it's pertinent, and I think in this day of modern technology, when everyone again wants instantaneous results, she says to me, "Ida, it probably feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. So I just wanted to send you a note of encouragement. But don't forget, this is exactly what the canvas is for. It's why this part of the process is so incredibly important to ensuring every vote is counted and the results are accurate. It's why we always emphatically emphasize that reports are unofficial until the canvass has been completed, its review, and certified the election." And then she goes on to keep educating people about the process, operating transparently, and communicating with all stakeholders. I know that some of you are incredibly disappointed that you weren't the first call on my list. But I have an obligation to the Board of Canvassers. I have an obligation to contact the state of Michigan. I have to contact the people that assist me, and I need to contact, I felt, as a courtesy, those voters. And I contacted as many as I can. Can I do it perfectly? No, I just got in and my staff told me I've got 14 emails. I've still got canvassing work I've got to get done. And this is how the process works. I can assure people that the Board of Canvassers is doing their job. I can assure you that every vote was tabulated. I don't know how I could have responded any quicker than what I have. I got my first media inquiry from the Leelanau ticker. I do not know who contacted him. It does not matter. It was done before I could give this under. Judge Kronkowski had already received a call before I could even call people. And again, she's part of the election commission. She's not part of the Board of Canvassers. We will continue with the canvass tomorrow. The unofficial results are looking excellent to me. I know it does not, again, give comfort to those, but the process is working. There is no conspiracy going on here. As the state has said, and I am not going to challenge it, it was human error, but I refuse to throw anyone under the bus. I will take it. I am in charge, but I am clerk to the Board of Canvassers. So we will continue on tomorrow with canvassing. We will certify. We have never not certified. And our votes for certification are always 4-0. So that is it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Do you want to take any questions from commissioners?
We'll see how this goes. Yes, Commissioner O'Donnell.
I believe you. Will there be a recount on District 3?
On which district?
3.
I can address recounts. Recounts cannot be requested until a minimum, within the 6-day time frame. We have to be certified before I can accept recounts. Petitions. I have the petitions on file. That's a candidate issue. I think that you need to look what the differential is. Right now it's 7.
Right.
That is something that they would have to petition alleging fraud and a couple other things, decide what reasons they would want to recount. There is a fee to pay. That is one of the cheaper fees by the candidate to pay if the losing candidate wish to do that. The higher the differential, the more the fee is. That happens to be one of the lowest. I can tell you on recounts, just so we're very clear, because I had a couple of people asking me yesterday, which is very interesting, how the tide can turn from, I want to hand recount to, just putting through the tabulator again. I found that an interesting concept and one I would be investigating. But recounts can, again, 6 days, that's the choice, I'll have the petitions ready. They cannot be conducted till after the State Board of Canvassers has canvassed the state of Michigan. The State Board of Canvassers has a 48-hour petition recount deadline. If they release us, then it could be done after that. The earliest a recount would be done would be December if it's even requested. And I think you need to wait until after but it's not a decision I make. I had some person saying the whole county needs to be recounted. That's not how this works. What this shows is, although uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, the process works as it is supposed to work.
Thank you for your hard work. You all look tired.
Thank you for some sort of explanation, but for the record, I want to set this straight very clearly, that 3 of my constituents and your constituents that put themselves out there to run for office, for township offices, were not even attempted to be contacted by anyone from your office. And before I would, as a leader myself, before I would talk to any media, do an interview on TV 9, 7, and 4, I would have called those people. I would have answered their emails. I would have made some better effort to let those people know that this system is supporting people running for office, not deterring them. This action that you have done by not doing a better job of communicating and educating stakeholders is very disappointing. And I represent those individuals. I take it to heart. I worked really hard for them to be able to run and put up with all the election stuff. And this is how they are treated. It's extremely disrespectful. And it's putting Leelanau County in a very bad light that I'm embarrassed to say that I'm any part of.
Yeah, well, thank you for your comments. We're all embarrassed by other people's behavior at different times, so I appreciate your comments.
I want to say that thanks for your explanation, and the system does work. And I've seen some of the Facebook posts, and I apologize for anybody that made some of the comments. I don't normally respond to Facebook posts. I did on a couple of occasions this weekend say the system works and the process when is it supposed to do it.
And we contact who we can contact, and it's not going to be perfect. And we do the best we can. As I said, the results are unofficial, and the people that also run for office are responsible.
Commissioner Lautner.
Thank you. Excuse me. I was trying to think of the saying, and it doesn't come to mind, but it's something along the line of that human error is something, but if you really want to mess things up, put it on the computer. And we have come to depend so heavily on the computers, as the clerk said, that instant gratification. And I was in the courthouse Friday for a little while and poked my head in and saw the Board of Canvassers just doing what looked to me like this mundane, very repetitive, mundane, and they were doing their job, and so of course everyone was very surprised by what they found. But as Ty just said, this is a system, it does work. I do not see any disrespect. I thank you for your explanation. I think you did exactly what you had to do. And if I heard anything today, we still do not have official results. So it's very easy to point fingers and accuse and say these things, but no one knows what they would do until they would be in the position to do those things. So it's easy to cast stones, but it's not easy. I know it has not been easy on your staff. So I just want to thank your staff and the Board of Canvassers, all of them, some of who are here, for what they do. It's not an easy job by any means.
Commissioner Rexroth.
Yeah, and I'll echo some of Commissioner Lautner's remarks. I mean, the Board of Canvassers was not invented when voting machines or computers took place. It's been around since elections because human or computers both make errors. There was a Board of Canvassers when there was just paper ballots and hand counting because you can do things wrong. People are involved, things happen. So I think this just shows that this is why that check is in place. The system works. You did your job. Something happened, but you're doing what you're supposed to do. The system has done what it's supposed to do. Let's move on, get the election results, and be done. Thank you.
It will be certified, probably Friday, Thursday or Friday.
Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, guys.
One more.
Yes, sir. Please, call these candidates. Give them the respect that they deserve for running for office to try to serve Leelanau County residents. They deserve a personal phone call to tell them that they are now not going to be serving. That's the least, please. I just ask you.
Michelle, I have emails already drafted, Commissioner Ross. There's a procedure, emotions are running high. I have to remain on the job at hand. I've got the list, I've got the numbers. I have to at least sleep for a couple hours at night. I have been working every day, 12 hours a day with stuff the canvassers need. They have not escaped me. One of the individuals you're talking about, an hour before this was discussed, was being congratulated in the hall on the unofficial results. They will not be, nor have they been, disrespected, but I have a process I've got to go through. They will be called. One of the emails I was reading from here is something I've already drafted. I just haven't hit the send button yet, because I do not want to misstate anything or excite people anymore than they are.
Thank you,
I
Michelle.
hear you and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Allison. And thanks, Jen. At this time, we invite public comment. It's a 3-minute limitation and agenda specific. Sam Gessinger.
Michelle. So, Sam Getzinger, District 1. And what I want to say is I really hope that.
Speak to the.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
I'm really hoping that this puts to rest the whole election denial stuff that's been coming before this commission for so long and disrespecting our clerk and our clerk's office. So Leelanau Indivisible and Traverse Indivisible gave Michelle Crocker an award for the defender of democracy. And we're so glad that she is on the case. These were not the results I was hoping for, but I'm not saying that it was wrong. The process worked, democracy does work. I got to work at the Cleveland Township office. I was so impressed with the Democrats and Republicans working together, welcoming voters. Democracy really does work. I'm hoping that this really puts to rest this whole ridiculous notion of how elections are stolen. And I want to thank Michelle.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Yes, Dr. Laporte.
Are these microphones working?
Yes.
My name is Dr. Bob Laporte, and I wanted to show some support to the commissioners about our Grand Traverse Tribe 2% generosity grants. I think that the county needs to continue with public and private partnerships, and I think that this is a great opportunity that the tribe is offering. So I'd like to support that, especially when it comes to renewable energy. Making and transporting electricity from fossil fuels is responsible for 80% of our polluted atmosphere. We learned back in junior high that if we try to use up any kind of cover-up approach to climate change that doesn't deal with the root cause of the problem, which is excessive and continual carbon emissions, carbon dioxide will continue.
Point of order, can I ask what agenda item this?
I think you're speaking to the support for the
Grants?
2% grant application.
That we're going to either approve or not.
Okay, okay, sorry, didn't seem like it was agenda specific.
Yeah, I,
No,
yeah,
no, no,
get it.
Go ahead.
That was a really quick 3 minutes.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
We need to employ as much renewable energy as possible. Price of renewable energy is now competitive with fossil fuels. Even with the incentives that are currently skewed against renewable energy, price of renewable energy is dropping around the whole world because demand of U.S. solar energy, fastest growing and most affordable source of new electricity in America. As the cost of solar energy systems drop significantly, more Americans and businesses have taken advantage of clean energy. This particularly affects our agricultural system. And renewable energy is crucial for food security because it provides a sustainable and reliable energy source for agricultural operations. Allowing farmers to mitigate the impact of climate change, reduce energy costs, improve irrigation systems, minimize post-harvest food losses, and ultimately leading to increased crop yields, improved food production, especially in vulnerable regions. Renewable energy helps combat climate change by reducing greenhouse emissions, which can directly benefit farmers facing extreme weather events like
We gotta
droughts
be within 3.
and floods. Look what happened to our cherry yield, directly related to extreme weather conditions. We must support renewable energy in our country.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Robbins.
Rick Robbins, Elmwood Township. I want to discuss on the stipends that are coming up here today. I think you took care of that back in September, August, when you all voted for the administrator, or the financial administrator to put in place. And that her team would be up to speed. And when the budget books were handed out, they were added. I think you voted on that. My take on that, I'm not a legal person, but it would take a supermajority vote right now to even discuss that. So what that means is you would have to, before of you today, vote, take it back to discussion and have it up for vote. What I'm suggesting is right now, what I heard was that they may be needed for negotiations. Well, we're going into the holidays, we're coming to the end of the year, we're looking at a new board here in about 6 weeks. So with that, I would say let's just keep it where it is. There's not much going on for negotiations from here to the end of the year. And let's let the new board decide whether they should be stipends kept on, if it's needed or not. I think we got it in play. We got a finance person. I think we have the right people in play to negotiate our contracts, and let's play it out now.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Thank you for coming this morning, and there will be another public comment opportunity at the end of this meeting. Any commissioner comments? That takes us then down to the first action item, the sheriff's office. Sheriff and the undersheriff are here. Thank you.
They have 4 items for your all's consideration.
Want to introduce that, Mr. Lewis, or?
Well, a couple of them, the first ones are the clothing and gun allowances for the non-union employees, which I think is something annually that you need to approve so we can make the disbursements.
This is an annual request, right, that's consistent with the contractual employees that are under the sheriff and I supervision.
Commissioner Oga?
I support you getting new clothes, but do you need a new gun every year?
You use it on every year, it's for maintenance and equipment, like night sights go bad, you have tritium in them. Night sights go bad, grips go bad, you get caught on seat belts, then you get corrosion and screws.
Okay, so you're not necessarily getting a new gun.
It's not a new gun, it's maintenance of the equipment, existing
Okay.
equipment.
Okay.
We shoot a lot.
I You know, my father had his gun for 50 years, so I was wondering why you needed a new one
I
every
don't
year.
think $250 would buy much of a
Well, that was
weapon.
designed, and these have been along my whole career. It's also, I mean, all deputies are issued 4 firearms a year, so it's also got to do with the responsibility and the 24/7, 365. They're not working, they're responsible for those county, for that county property.
I get everything needs to be.
Commissioner Lautner?
Yes, I would move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the uniform and gun allowance for the non-union personnel, which is the sheriff, undersheriff, and marine deputies through payroll, which appropriate taxes withheld, with the appropriate taxes withheld. If receipts are not provided, funds to come from 101-225-301.703.742 and 101-225-331-703-742 as budgeted.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All those, any further discussion? Yes.
I just would hope you're not buying a gun yearly for $250.
Yeah.
You should have a better gun than that. That's, yeah.
That's true too. That's true too.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you. Have another one?
So this second one is jail related. It's a food service contract, which we have been with canteen services since the jail opened in 2005. The contract has expired, or at least they are looking for a change. Obviously, with inflation and food costs, their cost has gone up too. They are looking to change the contract ranges from 3 cents to 17 cents a meal, depending on population. Based on the jail administrator, Lieutenant Rausch's calculations, he figures that it'll be roughly for us 8 to 10 cents a meal. Based on our population, probably about $6 to $7 a day would be the increase as a result of this contract. One note, he did inform me in the recommendation for the motion, it neglected to say that it would also allow the board chair to sign the contract if approved.
You'd be what?
That the board chair will sign the contract to prove that he didn't make the recommended motion.
Well, if you're moving it forward, that could be in next week's motion when they do it for next Monday night, so.
Anybody have a motion for it? Commissioner Algar?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive board policy on bid requirements and approve a 5-year agreement with Canteen Services, Inc. for inmate food service.
Support.
Discussion? Commissioner Lautner?
Yeah, all in all, I think this sounds like a very fair contract considering what we all know, the cost of groceries that have been climbing the last few years. So all in all, I think that sounds like a really a good contract, and it takes us 5 years out,
It does, yes.
so it's fantastic.
Any other discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. Now we have a fingerprint scanner replacement.
This was not part of, this kind of crept up on us. Maybe should have known better, but we've had this fingerprint scanner since the inception of the jail also. We were able to hobble through as operating systems have expired and we moved to new ones. The IT has been able to keep it up. But this fingerprint scanner has started to experience some major issues that is used for every person that comes into jail to submit prints to not only the state but the federal government. And without this, the jail cannot effectively book inmates. So we are asking, kind of in an emergency fashion, to purchase a new updated fingerprint scanner, which is about 15 years old. Usually they last 5 to 6, so obviously we've seen good return on the investment of the last one. It's time to upgrade and replace them.
Commissioner Rexford?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the purchase of a new live scan unit from ID Networks for the quoted amount of $10,298. Funds for purchase to be determined. I would ask, we have room left in our fund balance forward for this small of a, I would make that part of my motion, that the funds come from our fund balance forward.
Support.
Any discussion? Commissioner
Just
Lautner?
a quick question, this is the one that you said that's in the jail?
Correct.
So the other one in the lobby is still,
Still fine, yes.
Fine.
That, if I'm not mistaken, the one in the lobby was replaced
I thought so,
2 or
yeah.
3 Probably 2 years ago, yes.
We say 2 years ago, it's probably 4, but anyway.
Probably.
Time flies.
I thought we replaced it, yep, okay, good.
Any other discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion approved 6-0. And now we have a recruit.
I'm Cole's recruit. So previously last year, we talked to you about the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Officer Standards is now sponsoring recruits through the academy. So you approved that last year. The individual we had picked out did not make the threshold. We have a pretty high threshold to get in, did not make it. May still be considered in the future, but we lost basically a year in employees. So we're down 2 employees right now. We had just backfilled 1, just got off his FQA process. So we're down 1 employee now. We need to immediately hire someone, and we found a really good Leelanau County candidate, born and raised here, lives here, doesn't have the housing issues, is already an employee at the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office, wants to go from corrections to the road, and our NMC Academy would take that sponsorship. They did reduce the reimbursement from $24,000 a year down to $20,000 a year, but that's still a bargain for the recruit for the county. We're in dire straits in terms of employees. We may have anywhere from 3 to 5 road retirements next year, anywhere from 4 to 6 on the corrections side. We're just not getting applications in. People are not going into law enforcement, so we really need this recruit position.
Have a motion? Commissioner Lautner?
Yes, I would move to recommend to Leelanau County Board of Commissioners allow the sheriff to proceed with an employed recruit and enter the Public Safety Academy Assistance Program/grant process with the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards and Northwest Michigan College for the Police Academy that starts January 27, 2025. Funds from the grant to be placed in a special yet undetermined account and used to cover the costs associated with the academy and the hiring process.
Support.
Commissioner Lautner?
Yeah, so I did notice the difference in the price from the last time we tried to do this. So do you think that this candidate that you've got in mind has already been through a lot of the police training?
It's called LCOTS for the corrections side, it's LCOTS for the road side, it's
MCOs. So there really shouldn't be any problem. You think it should, hopefully everything's going to sail right through
Great
for
physical
this.
shape, great attitude, smiles all the time. And when I interviewed him, said, what I'm looking for is someone who's friendly, treats people respectfully, and fits in our model of trying to be as professional as possible. He fits all those categories.
Great. So it will cost us just a little bit more, but if we have a good candidate, but you're going to be out of, you're still going to be short of position until spring then?
We get that one filled, we're good until spring, and then we've got some anticipated retirements coming up on both corrections and road
But
side.
if they go into this in January, it takes 16
We're still
weeks?
gonna be short.
Yeah, okay. You're still going to be short until then.
This employee wouldn't be fully operational and independent until probably August.
Wow,
And
okay,
then the FTO afterwards.
Yep.
The field training months are portion.
okay. But it's a start, so I can appreciate that. Okay.
Anybody else?
I had one more question, but it's good.
All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
My question was, going this early, so this is only November, we're trying to get in January, we shouldn't have any problem getting state funds to help. Are we already qualified for, will we get those?
We should be good, but it's a pool. We
Yep.
put it in a pool, and at the end of the year, it's gone. So for the August Academy, I wouldn't bet too much on that. I mean, hope that it's still there, they'll reimburse it. It starts the first of the year, so when it does, for this academy, it's a better chance we get them now than in August.
But when will we know for sure?
Next Tuesday, when
So historic, it's only a 18-month-old program.
Yep.
Some agencies have known as quick as before they even start the academy. Some are, it all depends on the first come, first served. I have zero concerns about not getting the grant for this January.
Okay, good. All right, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
thank you for all your support of our operations. I know professionally, we don't always get it as law enforcement officers, but I'm always proud of the board and the people in this community who support us. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick.
While we wait for Mr. Ansorgi,
Why don't we
Wait for my next person here. Okay. Trying to see here, is our person with the Veteran Services here?
Yes.
Why don't we just skip down to number 5 until Matt gets here?
Everybody okay with that, board?
Sure.
Okay. Yes.
Next one is an update to the contract with Grand Traverse County relating to Veteran Services. You can find that on page 105.
Morning.
Thank you for being here. We're all finding our place because we just skipped ahead here.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Do you want the motion?
We've got it here.
Yep, I just found it.
Yes, Commissioner Lautner?
Yes, I recommend approval of the contract between Leelanau County and Grand Traverse Veterans Affairs from 2025 through 2028 for an annual cost of $56,618.
Support.
I was on the board when we created this partnership with Grand Traverse County, and I have never heard a single complaint. And I've heard a lot of really positive things about what you do personally, so I thank you for that. And this is really good to have someone out here in the county where it's just much more convenient or comfortable for some of our veterans. It's just been a great thing. I appreciate that.
Thank you for saying that. Chris, who's here every Tuesday, I get a lot of compliments about his service. He does a great job. So thank you for saying that.
Any other questions? All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. And thank you. And thank you to Steve Stanton, who is our representative to your committee. And he speaks highly of everything we do.
Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank
day.
you. Thanks, Ralph.
That was quick. He took our roll, got it.
Okay, we're going to skip back down to emergency management, and our administrator says he's handling it.
Yes. Yeah.
What
Okay.
page do we go back to? now?
Let's go back to page 30, please.
So,
Okay. Based on the first one is a current lease that we have with the
30.
with Verizon. It was just located at the Maple City Tower. As it states in the overview, they are changing their model to be aligned with the 5G services to their customer base. This means they got to change out some of the equipment on the tower, and we have an amendment to that contract with them. This is for your awareness, and we would like to. I think what they're trying to do is we're updating the addresses to send notices with a copy to certain folks. We're updating the exhibits B and C as it relates to the equipment modifications. And I don't think there's any other changes in here, but it's more just to keep our current contract up to date. I don't believe we are amending to extend this contract further than the 15 original lease, and they'll have to come back later on. So that's basically it. So basically, they're improving their services to their customers. So.
Commissioner Rexroth?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the First Amendment to Tower Space Lease Agreement for Verizon at the Maple City Tower sites and authorize the County Board Chairman to sign the agreement.
Support.
I speak to local, and my understanding of this motion, as I look through this, is that there's no cost to us. This is them updating equipment. And the only pertinent point really is that Matt has decided since the loading on the tower, he hasn't upcharged, he's actually charging them the same lease amount as it was before, but the net effect is our citizens get better service, right?
Yep.
do you want to come up? Are you covering for Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to come up? We got a couple of questions.
Yeah, we know now.
Want to come to the table? Okay.
We kind of gathered that, but come up anyway.
Well, we just finished the Verizon one, and it appears, looking at the AT&T one, it's the same conditions.
Well, we need to vote on the Verizon one.
Well, I had a
yeah, yeah.
question as well.
Commissioner Lautner?
Well, so with the amendment, so this is a 3-year for, okay, and for $50,829. Is that less than what it was because this is lighter equipment? Is that
That's
it?
correct, it's different equipment, so some of it is being replaced or not being replaced, and then some of the other stuff is being replaced with lighter equipment, so the load on the tower isn't as much, which
Okay.
doesn't generate as much.
Okay, so how much of an impact is, I don't know what it was the last time we negotiated this contract, like how much less are we going to bring in?
If I'm,
Because
if
that
I-
will-
if I'm reading the motion, it specifically says he has not pursued a change in the rental figures. So that's specifically what this says. So it doesn't sound like they're going down. They're just not going up.
Correct, he doesn't want, you're not
Okay, they're just not-
renegotiating because it would end up
Okay,
being a lower rent than what we would see now.
okay,
So
so
we're not-
it doesn't have the accelerator that it had before because it's lighter equipment.
Correct.
But
And that was the issue with resetting those contracts, which Mr. Townsend was working through to
Okay.
not reset the contract.
Okay, so in a way it will impact, because other costs are going to continue to go up, but it sort of will impact what we use those tower funds for in the future, because the funds will stay stagnant then, basically.
I'm not sure of that either. If I read this, it's whatever escalators are in there, he's not changing a single
He's not
thing.
changing
The escalators stay the same too?
Yeah,
Okay.
Everything
Yeah, I mean,
stays, the only two items that are changing is who we send any updates to, which is instead of saying, send it to Alltel Corporation doing business as Verizon Wireless,
Okay,
and who we send a copy to. We're also updating the equipment that's going to be on the tower. Other than that, other terms and conditions remain, so nothing else
okay,
changes.
so is it says AT&T, that one,
The
we're going to jump
AT&T
to?
one, there's changes, yes.
The AT&T one is the one, so the amendments are, both amendments are different amendments.
Correct.
Okay,
This one, all we're doing is letting them put better equipment on it. And
Okay.
that's all there is to this
And
one.
we're making note of it in the current contract that there has been a change in the equipment.
okay, all right, very good.
So
Well,
we're
thanks
on
for
the
catching
Maple City Tower, motion on the floor.
Verizon Maple City Tower, yes.
Verizon Maple City,
All
okay.
those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. Now we have an AT&T lease agreement.
AT&T is, they are, according to this, they're making their modification for equipment on Maple City, on I didn't spell the name of that little town, and the
Omena?
Northport Tower sites. These
Omena.
modifications align with their business model to expand the 5G service to their customer base. The equipment is modified, their lease agreement for each contract will be needed in order to update the equipment from both AT&T negotiated. Our attorneys and AT&T attorneys have negotiated the First Amendment. And in that amendment, I'm reading through this as fast as I can.
Thank you.
And we're going through, what's being changed is the exhibits as it relates to the tower items. And we already have a first, we're amending the Second Amendment. The term is expanded to,
Essentially, what they want to do is, the board has always agreed to 15-year terms. The cell carriers like a 50-year term. What Matt was doing was when there were renegotiations, they would reset the start date. So, starting in 2012, if they renegotiated, say, in 2022, then the reset date started from 2022 and that term continued
For
on.
another 15.
What Mr. Townsend recommended to clear the water up is to keep the original term, and then as renewals are done, if there are extensions, that it's tacked on to the end of that, but that initial term stays at 2012, as opposed to leapfrogging up above. So it continues to be a 15-year term, but if we want to extend it a little bit, you all can approve that.
Let's get a motion on the table, and then we'll see if there are any questions. Commissioner Extra?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the Third Amendment to Tower Space Lease Agreement for AT&T at the Maple City, Omena, and Northport Tower sites, pending final approval from legal counsel, and authorize the County Board Chairman to sign the amendments.
Support.
Any further discussion?
So even though it's lighter equipment, there's no change to the rental figures?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, this appears to be exactly the same one we just did.
Correct.
Yep.
all right.
The only thing, it
Very
looks
good.
like that there's ways that you can amend this for the future to keep the 15-year lease in place at all times.
That's correct.
Okay.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. The 911 radio consoles, Joey.
So we've always had a maintenance contract with our radio consoles and some of the towers that are on the state network. The last annual fee for that was, I believe, $22,000. So in renegotiating contracts with Motorola, they came back with the next 3-year contracts as $48,000 starting out yearly. As we were talking with them, Matt about fell out of his chair when that figure came out. He spent a couple months working on Motorola, trying to work that out, and ended up getting them talked back to $30,000. And they have since agreed with that, with then terms starting the first year at $30,000, second year at $31,800, and then the third year at $33,700. This comes after the COVID increases in that, so it's been seen across the board with a lot of the maintenance. This is where we're at now. They've got down to 30,000. I think that's pretty good from where we were.
Commissioner,
Should have started at 150 then.
Oh,
75. I mean,
I would move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the 3-year contract with Motorola Solutions for the maintenance on the 911 dispatch radio consoles and NICE radio recorder equipment, and authorize the board chair to sign the contract. I'd like to add, extraneous to that,
could we get a second and then you can?
Support.
Okay, now Commissioner O'Carroll.
Funds to
well,
come from?
good for Mr. Ansorgi for getting them back down,
Oh, for sure.
and bad on them for taking advantage and reaping huge, huge profits off of all of us.
And part of that is you're required by the state to have these annual maintenance contracts. We've explored options of not having that and kind of having a pay-as-you-go, but which you have to have that maintenance contract to be on the statewide radio network. And the statewide radio network is what all of our law enforcement, fire, EMS talk on. If we have a large incident and we have people coming in, that network allows other counties, other jurisdictions to be able to come onto our radio network and even allow us to get special event channels so that all can talk on that channel and just assist with communications across the board.
I agree, we need it. I don't agree Motorola needed to make that much money.
Yes.
Commissioner Redcross?
This is a broken record for me, but I would highly suggest going to competitive bidding process for the next process. They came right out, and I mean, if someone would have thought we'd be paying double, so please,
We
next
have
time.
looked at other options for recording equipment.
Yeah.
We're being on the statewide network, Motorola is the vendor that we have, so,
And they're the only ones that can be certified to service those.
correct.
We've been discussing this for 30 years, and it's been a thorn in my side for 30 years, because they've got us where they want us. We can't get out from underneath them. I would like to see it in the future, because I would like to see that competitive bidding, but this is the problem. They're the only ones that can service it, you got your licensing, and,
We're doing everything we can.
yeah, it's not pretty, but
All those in support of the
I
motion?
had one.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
801, you recommended to come out at 801, so we'll probably have that in our motion for Tuesday night. And NICE stands for,
I don't know if it's an acronym, to be honest with you.
oh, they're just nice radios.
It's nice recording equipment.
NICE
NICE, correct.
stands for something. You'll let us know.
I will find out for you.
Thank you.
yes.
Okay. So it's in the motion. I really think it should be spelled out. I generally,
It says nice.
it just says nice.
It's nice. It's nice to push the radio and talk to someone.
Capitalized.
Really?
Nice. Okay.
They're
Any
trying to
other,
say they're nice even
Any
though
other
they're
discussion or
gouging us.
questions? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you.
Sir?
And we hope that
Acronym, huh?
your boss is enjoying his day off.
SOB.
I hope he is too.
Yeah,
Andrew.
shortness of breath, medical term.
Next, we have the equalization, the update to the equalization report update as a result of the
Hi,
elections.
Andrew.
Good morning. So last month, I came before you to present the enforcement report, and at the time, I made the caveat that there were 4 millage proposals, millage requests that were going to be put before the voters this past election. So we knew that there was going to be revision. At this point, we don't have official results, so the enforcement report.
We've heard that.
The enforcement report that is in your packet reflects the unofficial.
Unofficially, they all passed, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So the enforcement report needs to be revised and submitted to the state of Michigan by December 1st. So there's no reason that you need to take action today. We could wait until we have official results and take action.
Well-
Can we just kick it to the regular session, and then we should
Well,
have,
But in this motion, all we're doing is recommending to move it to the next session for next Tuesday night, which by that time we would have it. So these are what is anticipated to be the final. So I would just go ahead with the motion to move it forward to the next meeting. That's all
So-
you're doing.
so moved. I
Support.
Support.
Moved and second, any questions?
If there's any updates,
don't have-
hopefully they will be the official.
Enough Traverse City Schools to turn it down? Could you find those votes too?
So, yeah, to be clear, the motion was to move this forward to the regular session meeting.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you very much. I'll be back next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
You may not need to be, Andrew.
Next item?
We'll see. You may not need to be this evening.
I'm happy.
Okay.
Okay, you have a request in here from the county clerk, which is following a request from the chief deputy county clerk to purchase 6 months of additional time, which this body or the county has done on numerous occasions with other employees. This purchase cost will be $12,785. It will be paid by the employee, and there will be a resolution that you will need to adopt next week in order to finalize and move this forward. So it's pretty simple. The county has this as a practice that they will do if the employee so wishes to pay what it's going to take. So there you go.
Michelle, you want to speak to it before we get a motion in?
I just talked at the end and it sounded like he explained it, just
Pretty simple.
6 months of prior service credit from the road commission.
Commissioner Argan.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve by resolution that Jennifer L. Zawicki be authorized to purchase 6 months of other governmental service credit from MERS as described in the application for additional service credit purchase at a cost of approximately $12,785 to be paid by said employees.
Support.
Would you change that to move to recommend?
Yeah, there's not a move in there.
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
move
I
to
move
recommend.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you. We now have a number of senior services agreements.
Hello.
It's that time of year where all these agreements have to be taken care of.
Yes. All but one of them are renewals, so you've seen them before. The first one is for Linda Lindard, and she takes care of our foot care services through her salon here in Leelanau. She did respond to the RFP that was closed and awarded on May 22nd. So she was a part of the RFP.
Commissioner Elgar.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the renewal of a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Linda Lindauer, DBA Linda Lou Hair and Nails, and Foot Care Services at a rate of $35 per service, beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2026.
Support.
Discussion. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Now we're on to the Flowers Health Services.
This is in the same manner. She responded to the RFP advance. So I'm asking for renewal. And this is for medication management.
Commissioner Lautner.
Yes, I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the renewal of a contract agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Flower Health Services, LLC, to provide medication management services at a rate of $37.50 an hour, per 15 minutes. An hour would be a little bit better. Okay. With a 3% increase each year, beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2026.
Support.
Any discussion?
I was just really heartened by the fact that our seniors, when they are really needing this service and probably alone and lonely and needing help, that they're getting it from her. Sounds like she's very heartfelt.
She does. She's been doing this since 2007, and she has a lot of great relationships with her seniors.
Good.
Thank you. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Then we have one with the Health Department of Northwest Michigan.
This is for dental services. This was not part of an RFP. They do discounted services, dental services through dental clinics north in Traverse City. And what the contract is for maintenance dental care, because Medicaid doesn't cover dental. So dental clinics north, they accept vouchers from our department to provide cleaning twice a year.
Commissioner Rush.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policy and renew a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and the Health Department of Northwest Michigan to provide dental services through dental clinics north beginning January 1st, 25 through December 31st, 26. Funds to come from account 281-00000-801.014 dental needs.
Support.
Any discussion? Commissioner Lautner.
Is this the same as last year?
Yes, and it's just the amount for initial unit and future maintenance changed slightly.
Okay, still, and we stayed within our budget for that last year?
Yes.
For 2024 so far?
Just a question on that. The Benzie Leelanau Health Department is splitting off of the Northwest Michigan Health Board in 6 months. I think between now and next week, we ought to check with Doty at the Health Department and see if there's any implications for that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Now the Leelanau County Family Coordinating Council.
This is for the Leelanau Laundry Project for anyone in need, and we reimburse them $2,000 for seniors to be able to do their laundry at the laundromat and something.
Commissioner Elgar.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policy and renew a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and the Leelanau County Family Coordinating Council, totaling $2,000 to provide support with the Leelanau Laundry Project beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2026. Funds to come from 281-000000801-000 contractual services.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. And now we have one on the Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency.
This is for a Meals on Wheels program that delivers frozen meals to seniors in return for home.
Commissioner Algar?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policy and renew a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency totaling $75,000 to provide Meals on Wheels to seniors in Leelanau County, beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2026. Funds to come from 281-000-000-801-008, Meals on Wheels.
Support.
Discussion.
I just have a question. I see that this program does not test for income or assets or,
Correct. It's based on need, and the requirement is homebound, that they're not able to get out and get meals themselves.
and I guess I think it's a great program for those that would need it, but it seems odd that we would supply meals to someone who might have a net worth of $5 million who just can't get out and has other means to do that.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they have the means to be able to fix their own meal in their home. It's to any senior. I don't know what their criteria looks like when they do an assessment.
Just because you have a lot of money that's the only service there is to get a meal every day. Most people can't get DoorDash.
Commissioner Lautner?
I do have a comment and a concern also, but Kathy had something to share. Maybe you're going to cover it before I ask it.
All of the recipients of Meals on Wheels also get a letter from Meals saying if they would like to contribute to the cost. They're given a rough estimate of what it is costing for that program to come to their home. And many people that have means do contribute back. My aunt took advantage of it in California. And she had the means, but she couldn't shop, she couldn't cook, so she would just write a check each month and reimburse the program for the cost. So, and I think there's a sample of that letter in your packet.
There.
No, that's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Russ and then Commissioner Lautner.
And we've also heard from them that the connection between the person who delivers the meal and the person in need is huge. So nourishment and connection to community is so important. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes.
Commissioner Lautner?
I've seen both sides of this program, and it does some absolutely wonderful things for a lot of people for some different aspects. But the other side I've seen of this is, for example, the nice lady who comes and presents always has a really cute story, but a couple of times I've known those people she talked about, even though she didn't call them by name personally. And I know it was way off base. And I do know one in particular that the freezer was chocked full of the meals. They just were never eaten. It was really ended up being quite wasteful. So whatever aspect that was serving for that person, I don't know. Maybe there were other aspects, but it was very wasteful. I don't know how to get past it. I don't know how to get around that. But I think there could be some work done on who does receive them. Because if it's anything more than checking on the person, that can be done in a different way.
You know what, you brought that up 2 years ago. How come you haven't gone and talked to him?
It's not my position to do so.
Is that freezer still
In
full?
fact, I don't sit on senior services, but I did bring up this concern. Do you sit on senior services? Somebody does. That's a concern they should have brought to, because they serve on that board. I don't serve on that board.
Commissioner Earthworth?
I just want to clarify, it's a great program and we need to serve our seniors that are in need. My comments were not to say that we shouldn't provide for those in need. And so, if there's not a method, there's not a method. But I do want to support the program for those that need it. And there's just maybe no way to divide it out, but it just seems a little odd to me, but I will support the program.
Commissioner Algar? You? You
I'm
look
just
like you.
moving my arm.
Oh, okay. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. Share care of Leelanau, page 237.
This agreement renewal is for their volunteer coordination that they do through Share Care Leelanau, and also includes the wellness program that we started the beginning of this year, 2024.
Can we get a motion? Yes, Commissioner Algar?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policy and renew a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Shared Care of Leelanau for the following services beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2026. Volunteer coordination and transportation services up to $56,000 and wellness programming up to $44,000. Funds to come from 281-000-801-001 Share Care.
Support.
Discussion, Commissioner Butler?
Yeah, I see these come through, and through claims and accounts, and it's like transportation, et cetera. And does that fall in with the last program you were just talking about, the wellness, perhaps?
The Share Care or the transportation?
Well, you were talking about the transportation needs. So I know at the same time, Beta has expanded their services to a door-to-door. Are these situations where Beta doesn't work for? Because I know you also work with Beta and passes, that sort of thing. Are those examples, are we doing private transportation to doctor appointments where Beta doesn't work for that individual?
It's
or
up to the individual. It's their choice. When they call for a transportation need, we provide what's available, and we make the referral out to, we either give them Beta's number, it's difficult to maneuver that, but, or make a referral to Share Care or Comfort Keeper, who provides medical transportation.
Okay. How did we stay, what was the budget last year for Share Care?
For this, last year was 2023 was 56,000. It just covered the.
Then we added the wellness.
Correct.
Okay, are we within the budget?
We are. So far, when I drafted the EBS, we were around 38,000.
Okay, so you're, I know it kind of got out of control there for a while with some that maybe were not income qualified to use the services. You got all that back under control. I think they were allowed to finish
The
year.
wellness program and the Share Care is not income asset tested.
No, the other,
For our
portion?
in-home services and financial.
Yep.
Yes, we continue as we are.
Okay, per policy.
Correct.
Okay.
Other questions? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. And agreement with Catholic Human Services.
So I spoke to you at the budget meeting in regards to Catholic Human Services. We previously had an agreement with them that ended in 2006. We can help fill the gap of respite care in our county through their volunteers that they have, and also provide seniors rides to grocery stores that our transportation doesn't currently cover, and other needs.
Commissioner Rush?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policy and approve to enter into a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Catholic Human Services, Inc. for the Senior Companion Program beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2026 for up to $8,000. Funds to come from 281-000-000-801-006.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Lautner?
Is this, we have respite through other programs as well? So
It's
this is,
income and asset tested.
and this one is not income and asset tested?
Correct.
Because it's done through the volunteers, so it just covers a little bit. I mean, it's not a large amount of dollars.
And it's not going to help. We're probably looking at maybe 4 to 6 seniors at the moment, because I know they have 2 senior volunteers in the county.
Oh, just two?
Yeah.
Okay. I know the respite is such an important service. So will you still, you've had to pull some from your fund balance for 2024?
Not yet.
Not yet. Are you expected to for 2025?
I think that total was 70.
How close are we?
If they need to use fund balance, it's budgeted at $77,000.
If we, okay. All right. And how is our fund balance sitting for senior services?
I think it's in the 600,000 range, so it's about 50% of your budget, if I'm recalling correctly.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. And now, for out-of-state travel request to Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, I would like to, the opportunity to attend the American Society on Aging. Last year we sent Gail Carlson. This year I'd like the opportunity to go to that national conference.
Good choice.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, gotta get there.
Trying to get there.
Page 286.
Thank you. Yes, it takes a while.
Commissioner Ross?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve Lena Vandermeulen, Director to attend the American Society on Aging 2025 conference to be held April 21st through the 24th in Orlando, Florida. Funds to come from the Senior Services Education and Travel accounts. Support.
Discussion? Commissioner Rexroth?
Just, I mean, you know, we have to trust you on this thing. Do you feel that the value of the information that you get is supported by the cost of this trip?
Yeah, Gail got a lot out of it last year. I'd like to make my own determination on that. I think it's great to connect with different states on what they're doing.
Any other questions, comments? All those in support of the, Commissioner Ross?
With our aging population in Leelanau County, I think it's super important for you to attend this and help support the greatest segment of our population. Thank you.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. When you're there, suggest that next year they have it in Kentucky or something.
They have it in Traverse City or something.
Timbuktu.
Why not?
Are you
Southern
taking the
Michigan
family?
or something like that?
No.
Don't bring it
Take a
up.
break.
You know what?
I don't want anywhere else knowing about this.
Ty,
Kingsley.
Can we take a break?
Yes, yes, we can. Let's take we'll all take a 5-minute break and Melinda will take 8.
10.
I'd like to.
Yeah, one of those.
Okay, we will come back to order and we are down to item number 7 on our agenda.
Oh, yes, yes.
Sure. This is in regards to the Affordable Care Act, the 1095C requirement by the government that we file each year, where we declare that we have coverage for our employees, et cetera, and it gets a nice form in mail. We have contracted with Raymond over the years to provide this service to us. We give them the data, they put it together, they're the ones that have the expertise. In-house, we would have to have so much continuing education to be able to stay on top of this. It's just a risk that can be mitigated by hiring professionals. So I'm just asking for a contract.
Commissioner Lautner?
Yes, I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners waive the bid policy and approve the service agreement with Raymond Robson LLC for services as outlined in the agreement. Funds to come from the Board of Commissioners Contractual Services 101-100-101-801-000.
Commissioner O'Gara?
Support.
Discussion? Yes, Commissioner Rexroth?
The old beaten record on bidding and continuing using the same people forever. I know you need the service. I don't think this probably has a choice, but we need to look at another option and have a competitive look at this sooner than later. I was overridden last time on this, but I still say what I say. So.
Well, technically, you didn't even have to go out for business with your policy that you amended back in March. You have checked, or
March. You know, this doesn't meet the $10,000 threshold that we would not go after bid, maybe 3 quotes. But, so, anyway.
Yeah, understood.
Commissioner Lautner?
Well, thank you for the explanation, Kathy. I've made a point to try to explain this every year. This is a $5,700 cost. It's come to us every year since that Affordable Care Act, and it's unnecessary as far as I'm concerned, but there it is. Got to do it.
Any other discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Now we are down to Gail. Hi, Gail.
Good
morning. What I have today for your approval is the tire agreement with ERG. We are going to have 2 collections again next year, same as we always have done, with a $2 fee per tire to help offset some of the costs. We also are looking to get a 2% fund, and we will be applying for a grant to the state to go some cash. The contract is the same as it's been, costs will remain the same.
Commissioner Rush.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the tire recycling amendment number 4 with ERG for 2025 as submitted.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Now we're on page 297 of our board packet.
This is our agreement with Bark for our money for our mattress recycling collection. Again, the cost remains the same next year. 2 collections again.
Commissioner Rush.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the 2025 mattress recycling agreement with Bay Area Recyclers for Community as submitted.
Support.
Any discussion?
Quick question. So it'll be $10 a mattress for the first 100 mattresses. Then after that, it goes to 50?
15.
Okay.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Now we have a Parks and Recreation public hearing.
Okay. As you may be aware, we have a draft 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan that is out there for review by the public for the next 30 days. It's been reviewed by the Parks and Rec Commission. Some amendments were made to it. So the latest draft that was finalized on Friday is out on the web, on our website. It's out on the web. It's out there for review. We do have hard copies in the administrator's office for people that want to come in and look at it and review it. The next step that needs to be done is by the Chief Administrative Office of the Board of the county, which is you folks. We need to set a public hearing on that master plan, and it is recommended that we do so on December 17th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
Prior to the regular session.
Prior to the regular session. So that's what our motion is that you do, and we'll take it from there.
Commissioner Rexroth.
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners set a public hearing on the Leelanau County Parks and Recreation Plan, February 2025, for the date December 17th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the County Commission Chambers Government Center.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Kathy, we have our budget rules. These are on page 310 of our board packet.
I did include the red line version so that if you wanted to do a side-by-side, that would be for your convenience. On page 311, basically, the board has indicated chief financial officer is not your goal, so that is a line out in item number 3. There are no significant changes to that page, other than that, from previous years. Yes.
I kind of wondered if we shouldn't spend a little bit more time, like, on these than what we're going to do here at this executive meeting, but, I can kind of see, I just would like to see a coordination, like you got capital purchases of $5,000 we take. But that one will still go through the finance department, but the next one, so this is service contracts, does our new county administrator will be able to approve those or sign those service contracts, and they won't go to
To the board.
finance? Or to the board? No? How?
Everything goes through the finance department, because we got to make sure that it's been budgeted. If it hasn't been budgeted, then it's got to come back here.
That's my concern, exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly. If it's not been budgeted, it's one of the things that's there. If it's been budgeted, like it's something well, let's just take like the fingerprint. That had not been planned or budgeted.
Right.
So we couldn't approve that even if it was $1. We need to come back to you to talk to you about it so you can approve it.
Okay, so
So
that's in
everything's
excess of
assumed here
10,000.
that it's
Okay.
been approved in the budget.
All right.
Does it say that?
So, and that's what we did. And that's what I'm saying, anything that goes above $4,500 to $999, we got to get 3 written quotes. So that's in the file. It's not competitive bidding. It's still getting quotes from 3 competitors to say, yes, here's what we can do this for, we're going to do that. It would be up to the administrator if they felt like if this was a normal operational thing, yeah, we've been doing it for 20 years, that'd be one thing. But if it's something that the administrator feels uncomfortable with, it's the administrator's right to bring it to you for approval.
Okay.
So we leave those options open. Anything over $10,000 has to go out for competitive bid, whether it's been budgeted or it hasn't been budgeted. And there is a process how this got to work. If we're going to go out for bids, it has to come to you first before we can even write the bid policy.
All right, make sure we
So
understand
that's the
that.
plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I agree with the comments. I'm just curious that I just don't see that delineated in here, that those first 3 items only apply if they've been already budgeted. I don't see that verbiage in there. Or am I missing it? I'm glad if someone can help me find that, but I don't see it.
Well, we will look it up, and if for some reason we have missed it, but that's always an assumption that it is. If it hasn't been budgeted, we can't do it. You've approved the budget.
It does say subject to approval by the Board of Commissioners through regular monthly claims and
accounts.
payment process.
But the money would have already been spent at that
Yeah, that's like
point,
an
so
after
that's
the
really a little
fact.
bit late to approve it after the. I would just ask for that clarification there, that up to $9,999, all of these only apply to previously budgeted items.
Okay.
Can we just add that right now, or?
I want to see it, you can bring it back to us.
I can bring it
Yeah,
back
you can bring
next
it
week.
back. I
'Cause
mean,
I'm just going to
It's a
add
minor
it.
change, but.
I'm going to add it to number 14 as, and budgeted.
Right.
And
So
they
could I
can
have
approve budget, so.
could I have a motion to move it forward to next week?
What do
The only other.
you want to continue the review and get all of the, is there anything else? Kathy, you go through the rest of the stuff, maybe we can do that.
I was thinking about this first one as we're talking about it, that are responsible for assuring, your department heads and your elected officials agree to the Appropriations Act, so they are bound by their budgets, and that they don't exceed the budgets that have been approved by you. And they can authorize expenditures up to $4,500 per item. But those items come to you in claims and accounts, which means they're not, it might be they bought a desk or a filing cabinet and it's $1,200. That's not a Friday check. That comes to claims, and you can reject it and read the package up that filing cabinet and send it back. I mean,
Assuming they'll take that back, I mean, if something's been in use, I mean, most places will not take.
back,
Yeah.
so.
What we want to open that.
Well, that was an agreement with them to begin with on a drinking fountain, that it was a test basis. It wasn't like we put it up and,
But again,
it's a very minor thing to clarify something.
Kathy brought it up, the very first sentence under number 1 says it. Department heads and/or elected officials are responsible for ensuring that expenditures do not exceed approved budgets for their respective departments. It's there. But it won't hurt to add it under number 14 again.
just to
And
reassure.
it doesn't
Just
talk
a
about the three
clarification,
quotes.
clarification.
It doesn't talk about the three quotes though, right? That was the other. But I guess because it comes in there. Okay.
As Kathy was going through this, the main thing we, and I'll help Kathy out a little bit too, is when we adopted this in March, when you made this revision in March, the idea was still to have a county administrator, CFO. The main thing we took out is anything that says CFO, we just took it out, because you have changed that desire. The other thing is in number 10. And right now, you have budget amendments take place after the executive board. Well, in technicality, you really do that after your regular board meeting. That's when it's officially approved. Executive, you're just recommending moving things forward in a lot of cases. So that's the only thing that we would do that at the executive, am I right, Kathy? At the regular meeting instead of at the executive today. So that's the only other major change that we have that we've made from the previous document, so.
Also it's May actually, I think, when these changes happened to the 25 or the 24 budget was in May. We clarified that there is no accounting department, it's a finance department, so you'll see accounting is structured.
Well, that's when we created the finance department.
Correct. And just going through everything on page 1 is basically the same as you adopted for 24. And if you didn't follow Richard on number 10, I have my voice. I'll let you know that when I do budget amendments for you, they're kind of regular. It would be very tough for me to get to executive, and the rule has been kind of regular. We've kind of pushed that rule a little bit, so I just asked for it to be at regular meeting approved by resolution. And then, let's see. Charges in May, number 14 was inserted. This is new, but you did approve it in May. So if you want to look at it again, that's up to you. And going further, if you want to stop at something, just let me know. For 18, you did adopt new per diem rates for 25 at 120 per full day or 70 for a half day.
So wasn't the yearly, the salary changed also? Does that need to be in here?
That is not a part of this document.
Okay.
But it was changed.
It was changed though, and it is budgeted. We laid that into your proposed budget.
Okay, as long as it doesn't have to be here, yes.
8 and 10.
Anything else before we take a motion to move it forward to next week and look at a
Only
little bit of
on
cleanup?
16,
16? Okay.
yeah, there's, within the spending authorities, so for signed documents, everything else has to come to the Board of Commissioners for authority to sign. So if it's less than their spending authority, they can sign a document.
Yes.
This, if I could just expand on this, this came about, before Richard too. We had contracts for special services for the Sheriff's Department to provide law enforcement for special events. And because the sheriff and his staff, their approach to have deputies provide services for the Sleeping Bear Run or the Kielbasa Run or whatever, it was very timely that those be signed with those individuals. And I think this kind of came about because of that contract, that the administrator would be able to work with the sheriff and sign those contracts because they were a timely situation. So that's kind of where this started, and it morphed into this. And Chairman Wessel did encourage me to use my voice, and I do have a little concern with this because it has been expeditious for Richard to be able to help us get our feet on the ground during this period of waiting for an administrator to be hired.
I still think that the board should review contracts before they're signed. Maybe put a limit on it, which is outlined in your grid, because contracts do indebt and put the county into a contractual relationship with terms.
Well, and I don't disagree with that, but if you follow the grid, if you wanted someone to come up here and they're going to spend $800 to buy a widget, and all of a sudden we got to wait 3 weeks to bring a contract to you because we have to sign a contract, do you want to hold that up to do that? And it goes the same thing with the other widgets. Anything over $10,000, that's a whole different ballgame. And again, if your administrator feels uncomfortable in signing that contract, that's always within their prerogative to bring to this board for final approval. I mean, this is a common practice in municipal practice. So this is what we do. So that's why you hire people who are competent to do this kind of stuff. So, but that's why we have the limits in here and the discretion of what we can and can't do, such as anywhere from $4,500 to $9,000. The administrator has to give the final approval, not the department.
And I appreciate that, and I understand that it's a common practice, but generally here in Leelanau, we've run a little bit tighter ship than some of our other counties, neighboring counties, and it served us very well. So while something looks simple enough, or really, it looks free, but then when you dig into it, well, there are costs associated. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a situation of making sure the Board of Commissioners is fully informed so that they can look for, or at least be aware of, what might be coming down the road in associated costs. Bigger than that, for me, has been associated precedents set. Those are what got you in trouble. And like I say, we've always held a lot tighter ship. So most of the time, there's plenty of time to bring it, right? If it's an emergency situation, I think there's another clause in there where it gives the administrator authority to act. But probably 98% of the time, there's plenty of time to bring it to the board. And I just think that that's a really important thing to do. If somebody's going to be signing on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, they should be approving it. So that is all. I don't know if that could be worded in a different way too. It's not just a spending authority. Sometimes something might not even look like it's got a cost associated.
So Commissioner Leonard, are you referring to the $4,500 to $999 contract?
Well, I was really talking to number 16.
Number 16, because it's kind of covered there as well, so
yeah,
they're related.
It really isn't, because it just, if there's no cost, that's the problem. So I had always understood the way we always had done it for is that all contracts and agreements had to be approved by the Board of Commissioners before they're signed, period. And this, doesn't really look like, because we've had a couple of those recently.
So I have just a question to our administrator. I mean, there's a difference between a contract and a purchase order or a purchasing agreement. I think therein maybe lies the definition Commissioner Lovner is trying to dive into, or maybe even Kathy. I mean,
agreements are a little bit different, though. That's your
contract. The language says contract agreements. If you were to strike contract for that and agreements, purchase agreements, then they can carry on their business on the widget thing that administrator's talking about. And
I'll look at it further. I'm going to dig into it.
If you looked at the language that was struck back in May, it still had the county administrator having the authority to authorize expenditures up to $10,000 up to certain items. So it's up to you. In my opinion, and there's just one opinion that's sitting here. We're trying to get your work done, and you have department heads that are saying, I got to wait, we need to get this moving. Well, I can't do anything.
And there, we've lectured them before
Well-
on calendars too.
Well,
I mean,
it's
yours,
just-
Richard, when you were still probably in Kentucky, we had that problem where year after year, we would have one or two department heads or elected officials that wouldn't watch their calendar. And all of a sudden, they'd be flying in on regular board night, and I need this signed tonight, because they weren't watching their calendar. So that was why those were
And I
in
agree,
place.
they need to
give
watch
us Yeah, they need to watch them, we need to watch them, and they need to come before the board
They,
commissioners.
everybody needs to
That
watch
is all.
it, but that's where if you come up and see something, that's why you have a county administrator, you question that individual.
So,
Especially when you have to review all the accounts and claims.
It needs, but the department heads have to
That's
have
right.
that level of responsibility.
so Kathy and Richard, you've heard suggestions and concerns. If we move it forward and see a little
Find
editing,
something.
could clean that up, and we'll deal with it next week.
I think number 16, if we did, as Chairman Rexroth mentioned,
Vice
purchase
Chairman.
agreements. But the contracts, though, you did approve the sheriff's special contract for events. You specifically
Yeah.
approved that document, so could you be used as a blanket document? And that would be something the administrator could sign without bringing, because you approved the blanket document, because we just insert the event.
The event.
And the dates, the
Right.
event and the dates, and that would help expedite their negotiations with our communities of law enforcement. So if we strike contract, that makes me nervous, because we have an approval for that contract.
We don't want to strike that.
specifically.
No. Kathy, we can work through it. We'll
Yeah,
talk.
and try and come up with something that addresses the concerns that doesn't handcuff your
Well, it's
operations.
not handcuffing me.
Well, you're familiar with the operations, what it takes, so.
Commissioner Olga?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think we need to respect the role of our administrator to
that-
let things flow.
That
So-
I agree with.
So looking forward to a motion to move it forward.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you.
And just a reminder,
Not really enough.
letter M at the end of that document, any emergency claim is authorized by the county administrator before implement prior to the next commissioners meeting. You know, he does have that ability, that's always. that's
Gotta
how
be
he gets
patient a
right
little
through.
bit.
That's what I was talking about.
The
Yeah.
office has
You got that.
ability in an emergency.
Mhm.
But therefore, in therein lies the difference, and that's why that
What?
is written.
An
Because
emergency
an
does not constitute they missed the calendar.
Bingo, right. So the administrator, we do have
An
to allow an
emergency does
administrator.
not excuse missing the calendar.
And Kathy, we have the resolution here. Do we want to address that?
Sure, for next week, this is your Appropriations Act resolution. I think that there isn't many strike-throughs on here, if there are any at all. We did insert the millage rates in
Dates.
the middle of page 321. We took those right from the L 4029. And those are the millage rates that fund the budget, proposed budget.
All I could find other than that was dates,
And dates
Yep.
was on the strike-through.
several spots.
Yeah, pretty much all that, and then I think we cleaned up when Richard came on board and I became a direct report to the administrator. I think we cleaned up county administrator, and was reappointed as chief administrative officer for the county act, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Okay.
You know, you don't need a motion on that.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. We now need to set a date for committee of the whole, or committee of the whole session for recommendations of boards and commission.
Okay, on here is your,
Thank you, Kathy.
I know that traditionally you try to do this at the end of November, but I know that two members of this body will be out of town and on commission, so we're recommending that we do this at a special session, or we may not even have to have a special session, just put it at the end of the agenda, but we'll figure that part out with the clerk. But for December 10th, we have still vacant, we still have not had applicants from a lot of individuals. We want, with your permission, continue to accept applications up until Friday, December the 6th, So we'll make sure we get an announcement out in the papers and stuff like that, that we're still considering the application. Couple of things that I would like to point out under the Area Agency on Aging of Northwest Michigan. Mr. Jack Minzer, I can't remember if I sent you his letter, but he is highly recommending, he was a citizen member, and he's recommending not to be appointed, but he's also recommending that a member of this body, of the Board of Commissioners, needs to serve on that agency. Everyone else in that role is a member of the county that is being represented there. And there's some major issues that are going to be coming down the pipe for that agency that he honestly feels that he, as a citizen, could not address and should not address. So I'm just asking you to remember that of course, I'll be bringing this up with the next body, but we're not going to want to look for a citizen there. The only other item that's not on here at this time is the Energy Task Force. And you will have to make a decision that whether that's going to be continued or not. I know Kama has a concern about when we are going to do that. I don't have their listing on here, but I will include it for later on because it is a committee or a task force that was created by this board. Whether that gets to be continued or not be continued is still a decision you will have to make, or however you want to do that. You can either talk about it now, or you can bring it up at the December 10th meeting, whichever way you would like to do that. So, ma'am, I know you had some thoughts about it, and
Well, the deadline for 1 year has expired, so it is the assumption that it's okay for us to continue meeting, but I'm not assuming anything anymore, so, yeah.
Commissioner Rourke?
The TTCI, is that going to be an ongoing thing? And it's not on here, is it? I mean,
it's not at this moment. That's a decision you guys have to make.
yeah, well, I mean, my meeting is this afternoon, and,
Okay, what meeting? Oh,
the meeting is this afternoon.
well, thank you for that, but I'll make sure I get that put on here, the TTCI.
Thank you, sir.
That's what you're saying. I got it on here.
And the materials management too, right? I think that the regional materials management, I don't see that listed.
Okay. Thank you for that review.
Commissioner Rushfield?
As far as the Energy Futures Task Force, I think that probably should be left to the next commission. I'm not sure how to handle it in between now. I mean, we could authorize it, but they could unauthorize it the day they're sworn in.
We told the board we told the group that we would tell them within a month after they reported if we were going to continue or not. There's no reason to delay it. You can revert, you can change your mind.
Well, it automatically expired, so unless we re-up it.
And he's asking to authorize it again then? I don't know the status that's in right now.
Either do we.
We did get a recommendation from them to continue. It was my judgment, and I'm just one person, that's a decision that the new Board of Commissioners ought to make in January. But part of the reason I say that is I don't think there's 4 votes at this table for it. And I want it to happen, and I think it's more likely that it could happen with the new board. Commissioner Ross and then Commissioner Elgin.
Oh, no, I've just got my hand here.
Okay.
So expending no taxpayer dollars or time, are we to meet in December? Or should we hold off until we would meet the first Thursday of December?
And it does not expend any county funds. It is a group of people with very good intentions who are experts in their field or have knowledge.
That group of people can meet entirely as they choose to, but not under the title of this group.
Well, the reason it's so important that it's a task force under the county is that gives access to grants and funds that normally you could not access.
That's not
There
the
are an
question,
awful
though.
lot of them.
That's different than what was just spoke about. So,
What?
that's different. You were asking whether they could meet in December. As a group, they can meet in December.
I'm just saying, I don't see any reason why we could not authorize that group. It doesn't cost us any money, and it's a group of citizens working on an
Commissioner Russ?
issue that's
There is a
very important.
2% grant that the committee has put, or that the task force has put forward. So there is business to be taken care of by this group, and we want to meet legally.
Would this board be willing to authorize a task force to officially continue until the end of this year and then suggest that the new board have that on their January agenda to plan accordingly?
So I just have a question, a comment. I mean, I'm assuming that this board has to, I mean, this board approves everything that comes from them anyway. They can't take any unilateral action. All you're doing in that event is allowing to continue on, and we do not know what the next board will do. So I guess, you know, I mean, personally, I'm open to discussion, but allowing them to meet doesn't commit any action at all.
Commissioner Lutton?
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't one of our boards and commissions. That was a task force. And we aren't discussing task forces today. I mean, it's not on our agenda to do so. So I think
That's true.
would have to be an action item. No public knew we were going to discuss about it. No public could speak about it this morning.
Legitimate point.
And we do not have the Housing Action Committee on this list either. I understand the issue. Commissioner Russ?
We were on the agenda last month to give a report, which we complied. A follow-up to me, out of respect, would be to make a decision as soon as possible, to respect the efforts that this group has taken to further renewable energy, clean energy for Leelanau County residents.
So we could, next week, have it on the agenda to approve the task force through the end of the year. And that's very simple.
I mean, that would at least allay your concerns, Commissioner Lautner, that then it's been notified, right? I mean.
But our meeting is before this board meets in December, so the first
Well,
Thursday.
no, that is not what she's saying.
Well, I'm
She's
saying
saying
that-
Regular session would
move
be-
it forward to
Okay,
next week
yeah.
as an action item and decide next week, which gives the public a few days to prepare.
And Commissioner Lautner
That
is
can be
right.
done. That can be done. If that's what your desire is to do that,
It's not my
we'll
desire.
have it prepared for you.
And listed on the agenda that's online in advance so the public understands that it's on the agenda.
So we can't move that forward from this meeting, but it could be added as a late agenda item next week. Is that what you're saying?
However we do that, I'll
Yeah.
work with the clerk.
Yeah, you can't move forward something that's not on the agenda to
Right,
us, so you're
right.
going to be a.
I just think it's important that it be listed on the agenda so that the public hears about it before the meeting.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
potential late addition item, Energy Task Force. Otherwise, we'll hear from Commissioner Lautner that we haven't notified the public and we can't talk about it.
Well,
You're getting all my tricks figured out, Ty. I'm talking about process and policy. We can't, I mean,
Right.
we have to follow our,
you know,
well, we should be following our policies and procedures.
last month I did something where I had it on there and I had in parentheses late edition, but it was on the agenda.
Has to be approved.
And
Potentially.
when you
It's
approve the
good to know.
agenda,
It is always good to know there are.
when you approve the agenda, you approve
Issues.
the action. So that's how we'll do it. Okay.
Yep. And Rookie agrees.
So we need
Agree.
to set a date.
Yes, date to do this, you know, when you want to do that, December the 10th, which would be after your executive session or at the end of your executive session, take a break and then
however you want to do that.
I think so.
Sounds good.
The 10th,
Yes,
So then we're going to do our committee assignments after?
correct.
do we need to have a motion to that effect, or is that just an agreement amongst the members?
I think I had it in, I
Have
can't
you-
remember what I did.
You have an
I think
EDS
I
in
had
there?
it, I will have it on your agenda next, a motion to set, well, no, you've just said it, yes. I'll have it on the meeting next week to make it official.
Just set it for the 10th,
Yes,
right after whenever the executive
correct.
ends.
So better have a motion to move forward to the next week, a potential date for a meeting.
You need
So-
a motion now? So moved, yeah.
Support.
I don't have, well, I didn't have one written out for you. but this-
I think we can just sign, correct, can we just sign that after the meeting?
Okay.
Three commissioners requested after the meeting, we can sign and move.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay. We now down to 2% tribal grant applications. We have several, Richard?
You have several, let me check, 1, 2, 3.
Well,
You had a total of 12 applications that were submitted. The total comes to $560,198.19. I'm glad someone got it down to the penny, that's great. But they're all good proposals and good grant offerings, and one good thing and some of these may have, not all of them, of course, going to get funded by the tribe, I wouldn't think, but it'd be nice if half of them did, but which ones they choose, so.
In this board.
And all the applications as following our process are in front of you. You take it from there. Great work. So.
And this board approved all of these as potential applications?
Yes, they did last month.
So this is informational, no action required.
No, we have to approve the grants now.
You have to approve the, there is a long motion in here, and we're outlining.
Oh, yeah, there I see it.
There it all is, but there it is, that you recommend the fall applications be submitted to the Grand Traverse Tribe band for consideration of the winter cycle. So it'll be moved forward, and at your meeting next Tuesday evening, you will authorize us to submit these. There may be some letters of support we'll add to it, but the basic application are completed, so.
Commissioner Russ. Okay, I'm sorry.
I liked your short version.
Yeah, I thought that was it.
I move to recommend the following applications.
Well, I mean, we'll type in the motion if you just want to go up to the semicolon, is that okay?
Move and recommend the motion as written in the EDS.
Yeah, I
Oh,
already,
that's a
I
good
already
idea.
made it all pretty.
Just-
So I don't
Make it
need-
up.
who wants to
Just do-
make the motion and
Okay,
second?
we make the motion
Support.
as presented.
There you go.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Oh, we got a second, yeah. Any
Yes.
discussion?
Just a question of whether, I'm not opposed to Leelanau County if they choose to ask for us, as board commissioners, ask for the funds to potentially do the charging stations here at the county building. I just wonder if we shouldn't be putting that request through as county rather than do it through the task force. Because
It is through the county.
It is to the county. We receive the funds.
I understand, we are the pass-through, but should the county be the asker, county board of commissioners be the asker, just by technical?
Well, we are
Well-
through the task force.
Of course, but we are also not
Exactly.
seeds. We are the pass-through for seeds, we are the pass-through for the SW, we are the pass-through for homestretch housing, et cetera.
But at the
We are
end of the day,
pass-through.
if this is approved, it will be on county property, and it'll be us that we will own it, so we'll have to work it through.
Okay, I'm just asking.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0, thank you. This ought to be an easy one. We've talked about it several times. Chairs.
You have the motion, you have how many chairs. I mean, this has been a long-running discussion. We've gone through everything to look at all the chairs that we need. You have a quote from a local vendor that we received some time ago, but we also have a quote, now I gotta go find this all here because there's so much in here. The other one, I gotta find my page, here it is.
While you're looking for that, we have our NICE acronym. Will you share what our NICE
Oh,
acronym
yes,
is?
forgot to do that. I was gonna do that at the end of my reports.
Oh,
The NICE acronym, NICE, stands for Neptune Intelligence Computer Engineering. There you go. We'll make sure,
I'm gonna get that. to
Jen,
the
I'll
clerk.
give that to you. You can put it in there.
Thank you.
Anyway, you have the memo from Lauren through the process. We have a quote from Staples, which for $48,501.86. Staples, as we have mentioned before, has a contract with MDeal, the state of Michigan, in which we can purchase it through them. We can also waive the bidding process and go with the other vendor that gave us a quote, which was,
A lot more.
yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
did originally they came from,
From Integrity
Integrity?
Business Solutions. So
okay.
these are both of them, and we got them. So.
Looking for a motion.
But this takes care of the entire organization, this quote with.
The staff that tested the chairs, were they okay with this?
Yes.
Staples ones?
Yes. They're the same exact chair as what was bought over here in the, same exact chairs that were bought previously. And
Okay.
that's what we looked at, the same
Okay.
exact.
Commissioner Algar.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the action taken to permit. No, I'm on the wrong page. I take it back.
Page
Approve the purchase of
464.
129
I went
chairs
forward
from
too
Staples
far.
in the amount
Sorry.
of $48,501.
I'm on the next one.
86 cents with funds to come from fund balance account number ending in 967.000.
Support.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Now, Gwen, it's your turn.
Yeah, but I lost the page.
42.
Just for y'all know there are 500 pages on this packet.
On page 482,
Yes.
Before claims and accounts and
Okay.
before
I move
post
to
office.
recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the action taken to permit T-Mobile to utilize Leelanau County electrical power at the Central Tower site for 1 month in exchange for $750 funds submitted by to the county treasurer.
Support. This is one of those actions that if the calendar had worked right, we'd have brought to you sooner, but we also know that allowing it, and so we're kind of asking for your approval after we are asking your approval after the fact. But the bottom line is that the sooner we get the T-Mobile operating, the sooner we start collecting revenue for that tower. So,
Makes sense.
I mean, and they were willing to pay that, so.
we have a motion but no second.
Support.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. We're now down to item TF.
10F.
Commissioner Rushville?
Yeah, so I respect and value the information that the clerk's office brings to this process, and they do have an endless amount of history there, and I think their input is invaluable. But I think it needs to be structured differently. My proposal is to cease the stipends, and I think, actually, by my reading of all the minutes, we would have to take action to reimpose them. The very last action taken by this board was that those stipends would end in November after the budget process. That's the last motion this board has taken. With due respect to the process and valuing the input from the clerk's office, I would recommend that we establish a hourly rate and to use them as needed for those things. I don't think we need both people and that we don't need 20 hours a month for this effort. So that's my proposal, to end the stipends, which I don't think it needs any action by this board. I think that's already been established, but to enter into an agreement where pay as you need them. You go to a negotiating session, you come back from the negotiating session, and you ask them questions, and they provide the added input. I think they should be compensated for that, but I think the stipends end, unless this board overrides its previous motion. So I'm trying to value the expertise that they present and value their input, but I think the stipends end and you use them on a as-needed basis.
Do we have
So that would be,
motion? Is that possible?
I don't think we can pay them on an hourly basis, and I'll have to do some checking for that one.
Because they need to be compensated, and you've made it very clear that we need their expertise.
It is part of an expertise that when we started into negotiations, it realized that the folks that, through your permission and you have allowed us to bring on board, have not experienced. And their expertise is needed because they've been through negotiations more than I have with the county. And we need that background, we need that expertise to help even with our lead negotiator. And I think that's going to be critical to learn and to understand. I understand where you're looking, because originally I thought we should end this when we presented the budget, but then I realized that wasn't going to work so well. I'm not comfortable with your recommendation, sir. I think that would be a futile mistake if I were to agree with that on my part. I think that would be an exercise of going backwards. But the decision does not rest with me. It rests with you six right now. So with that, I'm not saying another word. I'm going to get another cup of coffee. You tell me what you want.
Commissioner, for work.
Well, let's put a sunset clause on it, 6 months.
we've done that.
Again.
We've done, but if we let it go to a new board and it goes all the way through the 4 years, we put a sunset clause on it now, I think that would work.
A second, we've already done that.
I mean, the point is that because of the people, the new people, to try to get things going smoothly, which we like things to go smoothly. And I hate stipends worse than anything. I mean, I got deputies over there that does a lot of extra things, and they should have a stipend, you know? But
Commissioner Lautner?
Well, I think we kind of maybe have some ideas of what we want, but perhaps maybe not how to get there. I think that, I know for a fact that I don't want to lose the expertise out of that office. It is not just historical, it's academic, it's all sorts of things. And I was going to ask Kathy to speak. We have a brand new, I call it an infant accounting department. We've made it through almost 1 year. I don't even know if it's been a year. I know we've got employees that haven't been here a year. And I was just going to ask, like, how much you still depend on that office to answer the questions that need to be done as these things come up. It's extremely complicated. And as far as, so I guess answer that, and then go on to negotiations, because we absolutely can't lose, the county can't lose that support with negotiations, because of the way those contracts have been negotiated over the years. We need that expertise, I guess, is so.
But I want to make sure all commissioners get a chance to talk, but you can answer her question, Kathy.
Oh, well, I was reflecting a bit, since this finance business began in January of '22, you've gone through 6 different versions of a finance director, 3 different versions of an HR director, now manager, and 6 clerks, and 2 variations of an assistant finance director. Now, the team you're looking at now, I've been here in this role, interim or the real deal or the assistant finance director, since January of '23. So a little over 18 months. 6 months into it, we lost 2 experienced clerks, then we hired 2 inexperienced clerks. They've left. I've had Elizabeth since February as specifically AP, and she's phenomenal. And I have Jody for for payroll mid-December, and Mike came on board September 30th. So we're talking, they've been with me weeks, just weeks. During the time that I have performed this role for you, it's no secret that my mom was hospitalized and I've been exposed to COVID many times. My son broke his back, I've had a grandchild born, and I've not missed a day. I've been here. So if I go down, you're in a world of hurt. And I think that if for any reason, all the reasons Commissioner Lautner spoke of, the historian value that they lend to me helping teach my staff, they could help teach my staff if I don't have the time. Richard has pulled me off my desk, and rightfully so. I need to be the right hand to the administrator, but I'm still training people that have only been here weeks. I could have some assistance with that. And I have full confidence that this staff will be phenomenal down the road, but I know, having been trained in these roles, to become proficient at payroll, it takes over a year. And there'll be new contracts. You have to be very knowledgeable about all the negotiated contracts to do payroll. And so, have I got Jody reading these? Yes. Are they going to change in a hot 2 months? I don't know. They will. Then we'll be relearning those, as I will be. And as for union negotiations, Friday was a learning curve for me to sit in that room. I have never been included in that in all the years because I was a clerk for the accounting department with the clerk's office. I was an account clerk. And so it was an eye-opener. And I just was so thankful that Chief Deputy Sawicki was there, because what she brings to the table just accelerates my learning curve. But what we accomplished, or what we started on Friday, we couldn't have done without that.
Commissioner Russ?
So it has been brought to our attention there might be a legal problem with making
An hourly wage?
or continuing the stipends if we've already decided against them. That was brought up in public comment. Do we
I don't know if
that
there'll
that's?
be any, you've been doing the stipends,
Yeah.
it's creating an hourly wage for a salary employee. You're not, you're paying X amount, you're doing a flat dollar amount every week right now.
It's an apples and oranges thing.
It's apples and oranges, gotta make sure we do it the right way.
Doesn't mean it can't be done.
Right.
Commissioner?
I think we heard about that in negotiations. That we can't.
Commissioner Rogan?
I think that we need to make sure
It has to be structured.
this can, I think we need to make sure that it's even legal to do the hourly, but even after listening to you, how on earth, if we went to hourly, so one of you has a question about something that's been happening for years, and Jen Zawicki runs over for 10 minutes, how on earth do you account for that? I do think we'll be shooting ourselves in the foot
Could cost more.
if we discontinue this, especially when the people involved in the work have said it's needed and we're going to save a lot of money long-term if we invest now in what you need. We've done preemptive stuff before, and we've paid for it. I vote that we support the voices of the people doing the work and continue the stipends.
Well, Kathy has brought up the part about the finance department. Our human resources manager has only been here just as long as just as long as our assistant finance director. And she's learning all that. She's digging in hard. She's involved in the negotiations, because when this is done,
That's the individual who has to administer the contracts. That'll be between the finance director and your HR person. That'll be the main two that'll be working with your county administrator to administer any contracts that come out. And that's a learning curve for her also.
I haven't had a chance to speak to it, so I'd like to speak to it. We developed the stipends on the basis of 10 hours a week for 2 people. That's 40 hours a month times 2 people. There's not 80 hours of work that we need in consultation for negotiations. I value the expertise. And I think we can figure out a way to compensate, whether it's hourly but I think this board is being asked to continue to prolong a stipend without talking about some compromise. There is not 80 hours of negotiations in the next 2 months to be done by 2 consultants. We have an attorney we're paying. Melinda's been on the negotiating team for 110 years. I've been negotiating contracts for decades. We do not need 80 hours of consultation for this negotiation. And what happens, let me just continue, what happens, and I think it's likely that negotiations go on until April or May or June. I mean, we don't know when it's going to be settled. We cannot continue to say we have an unlimited amount of stipend money to pay. I'd rather ask the administrator, and I respect his skill, to come back and say, well, we got to do something, but here's what we can do to illustrate a little bit of compromise. Because we've got a good team in place. And this board did say, when we get this book and we have our public hearing, we are done with stipend. There are people watching us on that. There are people that care about that. And I think it's real important that we don't just keep each month or every couple of months say, well, let's just prolong the decision a little bit. So I am not in support of a stipend at the rate that we've been paying for 2 people. And yet I want to make sure I communicate that I think they've been wonderful. They've been invaluable. We needed them. They put together a finance department. Now we're in it together and we can make it work. So that's my opinion.
So are you talking about a compromise, though? So another, somehow 15 hours a week or 10 hours a week or hourly or whatever is legal, but support what our finance director is saying she needs and what our administrators, because we will live with mistakes. We cut off too soon once. Let's learn from that. So I'm willing to compromise, but I'm sure not ready to say, well, fly your kite, you're on your own.
Okay.
So, again, I agree, but with respect to the finance department, and no disrespect to Kathy, when we made this decision regarding finances, there was no consideration of bargaining. All this knowledge was available then. There was no, at any time someone could have then said, hey, don't make that decision. We need help for the next 6 months or a year. That was never brought up during the stipend decision process.
My mistake burned me to the stake.
Well, there was all sorts of other people that could have said that. So I think the finance
No,
department is not
I'm the one who's held accountable. Nobody else here is. If I had known it, I would have said something different.
I'm the board chair on this.
Yeah, and I'm the county administrator, so.
All right, withdraw the part that places anything, but I cannot support the ongoing stipends in this bill and will not. And if there's another option someone can bring, then I would be willing to look at it, but right now, it's my understanding they're done unless this board takes action.
I would like to see us with a compromise, see what's legal, to give the support where it's needed. Perhaps, and what we have been doing, but do it in another way. So can we work on a compromise, on a new program that's tailored to what's going on now? And come back with that next week.
That was my view, that it's not this or nothing. It's what do we have to do to make it all work?
Yeah, because I want to support the finance department. We've worked really hard to put it together. I want to make sure we don't leave them in a lurch too soon. So I'm hearing from the finance department that they continue to need some support and training. And we heard that we absolutely need the experience. Mistakes that we make in bargaining, we will live with for years. And it could cost us thousands.
Commissioner Lautner?
Yes, thank you. From what I hear, I don't disagree that you may be on track with how many hours do we need. And I think that's what we ought to be looking at. Perhaps we don't need 80 if the calculations are correct. But we do need to continue them. Not just negotiations go ongoing right now. But we're doing the training still as well. But there are future negotiations, and I am extremely, I honestly, Doug, I really wish that all of you could have been in that room Friday to watch the machine work, because it is an incredible process. And even Matt is relatively new in being our attorney, so different than when we had Peter Cole, and Peter also knew all these contracts and what we had done previous years and why we were doing what we were doing, and it's all pretty new to Matt. Right now, Jen is our main
Historian.
but the most important part, as you said, Jen eventually, the other Jen, will eventually get it. Our new administrator hopefully will be here for years and will eventually get it. As Kathy said, she is learning. But the future negotiations, Leelanau County has got to make sure we keep Jen on our negotiating team. And I probably can't go into a lot of the things we've negotiated because they're ongoing, and the importance of them, though, is just incredible. Right now, our accounting finally is going good. We're on the right track. I don't want to see it fail. And I'm just afraid that if we pull these now, we thought we would be further down this road by now, and we're just not yet. So, and I just don't want to see it fail. Money is not the reason we have to stop these. Not right now. We've got the money. We're spending money like crazy up here. The only reason we're even hearing about these stipends is it is particularly one or two people, seems to be their life goal to keep hammering this to stop these out of probably personal spite. And they know who they are. No, not you.
You're damn right it's not.
They know who they are, but that's who's pushing this whole thing. So I think there can be, I've heard the word compromise. Maybe it's in hours. I don't think it's in months, but perhaps it is in hours. And we've got to do what's right for Leelanau County, not what's right for a few people out there who are trying to convince and run the county from outside.
So, now, I'd just like to clarify for a minute that no one is trying to run my opinion from outside. My opinion is expressed are mine and mine alone.
So you haven't heard from outside people whispering in your ear about what you need to do about these?
No.
So can we have another
Other than my
revised
constituents who are
proposal
not.
next week?
Gotcha.
Yep.
Pardon?
Can we have a revised proposal next week?
If our administrator is willing to do that.
What's the proposal?
Would
If
you
that's
like
what she's
to-
so direct, I will be
Can the
glad to.
negotiating team sit down with the administrator and
I will,
staff?
I don't
come
know
up
if
with
that's the
something?
proper method or not, but I will
What's needed? What do we need?
I'll see what I can
What
put
powers do
together.
we need?
That's all I can promise you.
Right, that's what we need to come up with.
You know, what does Jim bring to the table that we need brought to the
I think
table?
we have two
Yeah.
factors.
That's what I'm looking
I understand.
If I understand, and yeah, I've been involved in union negotiations for 35 years myself, not public, but private union negotiations. And that advice is invaluable, but you're not sitting at the negotiating table. You come back and have a meeting lasts a couple hours to review what's there. That's the end of it until the next negotiation session. Again, you need to find out what's there. I see this as a very limited amount of need, not that it isn't extremely needed in the amount it is. But as I just look through the process, I mean, as far as the union negotiating side, I don't see it as a big amount of time. The time there is, I agree, invaluable. But I guess if it's going to come back, it's going to have to, for me to support, it's going to have to be a very limited amount of time, because I know how the process works. You come back and discuss the proposal, and the people that have all this history and information give you the input. This is where you're making a mistake. That only lasts a certain amount of time, and then you're done until the next round, and there's a next round of proposals. So
Sometimes it's interpretation also. I mean, and Kathy would probably could speak to that much better. But we've got, say, we were looking at the allowances for the sheriff's department. And there's other things that are negotiated for the deputies, and then it comes down to payroll and what's taxable, what's not taxable, et cetera. And it's all kind of tied in.
So what we're looking for is just a more tailored proposal.
I think so.
I'll see what I can do.
To
I'm not
what's
gonna make any
needed now,
promises.
because we don't wanna leave you
Because
guys
there's
up.
more than me involved here, so.
Are we in agreement as a board that we would like the administrator to come back, if he can, with a revised proposal, hearing what the board has said today?
Yes.
We don't need a motion for that, it'll just be on next week's agenda. Thank you.
We can beat about that.
We now have to pay some MAC dues.
Okay, in your packet is the annual MAC dues that are required,
A lot of money.
being requested. As you can see, his invoice was dated some time ago, so it probably got lost in Ms. Allen's email account, which I did not see. Anyway, based upon what you did last year, which I understand is that MAC does their dues based upon the SEV of the county, which, of course, Leelanau County has a very healthy SEV.
Yeah.
But probably doesn't provide any more services than some other counties. So since 2003, you've been basing your dues based on a different formula that you've done. Last year, you did $12,000. I just put the same amount in there for this year. I did talk with Ms. Lochner about that, because I know she's, in the notes that she had last year, she explained it, why they do it the way they did, so that's why I put it the way it was.
Commissioner Lautner has her hand up, and then Commissioner Holgar.
Yes, I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the 2024-2025 Michigan Association of Counties, MAC, annual membership dues in the amount of $12,000, with funds to come from Board of Commissioners membership dues and fees, line item 101-87.000.
Support.
Any discussion?
I'd like to add that somehow they also missed at the last meeting. They read off everybody who hadn't paid yet. Somehow they missed that we hadn't paid, so thank you.
No, they sent me a notice. Also, when I talked to the county, the executive director of MAC, just so you know, it's on the record, you're the only county that doesn't pay the full amount, but I think there's a good reason for it, so.
Can I expand upon that, because it's really quite interesting. I think it's going to be important for the
So,
future.
there you go.
So, yeah, Matt, some years ago when I first got on in this large bill, and I said, how are these dues structured? Because, we were at the time like 17,000 population. And, that's when we found out it was based on population and SEVs. So we Leelanau County were paying like $1. It came down to $1 a resident. And meanwhile, other counties in Southeast Michigan were paying like 12 cents a person or a resident. So it was just so way off base. And that's when we
basically negotiated, and we said, we will pay, I think at the time it was like 9. So we will pay you 9,000, and they're like, okay. So it works as well. We don't use them for a whole lot of things. They are very helpful when it does come in, but they don't want to lose us. We don't want to lose them. This works. But we asked them to relook at their due structure, and they've just chosen to not do that. They just want to continue this way.
I will say that they have people working. I don't always agree with what they're working on, but they do have people who are working continually with the legislature. So it's not just that they help us every once in a while. They're in there all the time.
With our population, what it is, this is fair. With our population up here, this is fair.
So we have a motion on the table. All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. We are now down to review of financials. Kathy, you're back at us.
Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. We had, claims and accounts, page 13, we have membership dues for our drain commissioner for 2025. Our drain commissioner isn't going to be here in 2025, so I'm wondering why we are paying those membership dues.
And I don't know if it's transferable.
Can you find out for me? Because that was my next question. Okay. I saw we were, and the sheriff isn't here. We're buying coffee for inmates now on page 12. I don't remember the vendor.
Why wouldn't we buy coffee for inmates?
Well, that was my question. So I was told Mike, there's no way I'd break the law because I couldn't survive over there without coffee. And he says, no, he doesn't give coffee to his inmates. But now I see it's in there. So I'm just kind of curious if you can tell us what changed or why he now, page 12, I think it was?
I don't see it on page 12. Mike, do you remember which vendor that would be?
It was coffee, inmates coffee.
Maybe Leelanau,
It wasn't Leelanau Coffee Roasters. It was a different vendor. But I'd like for Mike to, I'm probably still.
And it could be that they're paying for it out of the inmate fund.
Did
you check what, I'm sorry, did you check what you told me about?
I didn't check.
I didn't mean to say it that way, but.
Yeah, it was just,
Okay,
boy, I don't even have.
I'll look it up.
In the last year,
Look at that, it's all big.
maybe about meetings or
We'll send
AA
out
meetings or something.
No, it wasn't,
So like
yeah, all right.
like
I
AA
thought that was
meetings or
curious.
something.
All right, and then, I think it was claims and accounts. I see we had a bike repair out of courts, and it was, it's probably, diversion,
It is diversion.
but we had a bike repair, 140 some
And we
perhaps.
have a special line item, and it's a reimbursable.
Is that the 75% reimbursable?
Yes.
So the reason we're paying for the bike repair is that he figures that this is diversion for.
Well, they do take bike trips, these groups, they do.
Okay. All right.
I think it's the second time this year we've done.
A bike repair? Good. Okay. Post audit report number 1. We had an interceptor and it was a large bill, 5,000 and some, I didn't write it down, perhaps.
This is the car that was totaled in the summer, and
Oh.
MMRMA offset
I saw that.
47,000.
Yep.
So that'll come out of the,
So that's not another car, that's the same car that was totaled.
Well,
Oh, okay.
basically-
The car, somebody turned in front of our deputy, yep.
The new car's here is getting
Yeah.
tape on it now.
so we're putting all the stuff back together.
Same car, okay, perfect. Report number 2, page 14. Why did we do some window darkening? Was it like on the southwest side of the building? Was it too bright for someone?
4 rolls of window darkening film. It was charged to the buildings and grounds. This would have gone to claims last month. I'm not sure which office that darkened. Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay,
We'll find out.
we'll find out.
But you're
Okay.
probably right, the afternoon sun or the morning sun
Yeah,
was.
okay. I know they're already tinted, but we just needed to be tinted further. Okay, and then I saw on page 25, we refunded, I think it was $80 for 40 tires for the recycling. And I didn't think we refunded once you pay, if you pay to recycle and then you don't come in, I didn't think we refunded. So, but maybe something else wonky happened, I don't know.
Refunded for, and I do remember this. It was something about they couldn't take them, or
Oh, maybe they brought
Too
bigger
big-
tires
too
and we're
big,
allowed.
10,
So,
20.
okay, I was just curious, so, okay. So we're still our policy not to refund, so it must have been a special situation, correct?
And I feel like they couldn't take them.
Okay.
There was some rejection.
Okay,
I'll double check with you.
thank you, that is all.
Any other questions for Kathy?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kathy. Special reports? Thank you. This time we have our second opportunity for public comment. This time you have 5 minutes. Mr. Lewis will keep the time. And we'll start with you, Mr. Steffens.
I'm Harry Steffens. I'm a precinct delegate in Leelanau Township. You guys have been listening to me coming here off and on for over 3.5 years complaining about those voting machines. I think those machines are great, and you haven't convinced me otherwise, but you have an opportunity to do that right now. All you gotta do is hand count all the races, and when they're done, if that agrees with what the machine said, then that's it. I can rest my case. So I just want you to be aware, you've got that opportunity, and I would highly recommend that you count all the races, recount them, but hand count them, and then see if the machine is accurate. So there's an opportunity there for you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes.
Christine Kramer. I used to be in the county. I'm now in the treasurer's office. When I started July 18th. I'm sorry, I'm having problems trying to phrase what I'm trying to say. It seems that the expectations for accounting is completely different than when I was in there. I remember in November, Kathy herself rolling out the clerk's payroll audit. I was hired July 18th. Jared was hired a week after me, and Ziwa a week before me. And I remember them rolling out that audit about how awful we were and how we make all these mistakes. Jared even created a graft, and this is from April to November. Kathy has been in her position for 1.5 years. It's amazing how much lower expectations have come. I'll leave this here for any of you who would like to look at that. And the meeting should still be on our website. Feel free to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Any other public comment? Yes, Ms. Malley.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Renee Weiler from Lake Leelanau, and I would like to follow up on what this person just said. I spoke with the treasurer a while back, and he could not answer why there was a deposit, a check, that was given to him that he had to hold on to for 4 months. Why would a county hold on to a deposit for 4 months? We still don't have answers on who instructed him to hold on to that check. That needs to be answered. I'm also concerned with these backdoor partisan committees and task force that have not allowed conservative fiscal minds to be on their committees. Chairman Wessel was kind enough to allow Dave Mosier and myself to serve on the Green Futures Task Force, and we were immediately deleted by Ms. Albright, and I don't understand that. There's serious civil rights violations just percolating through these partisan committees and task force that we don't have access to, we don't know what they're doing, and now, as Commissioner Rattler said, they're pass-throughs for funds from the county. That's not going to stand. So we need to know, in fact, I need to know, I actually also applied for the Land Bank Committee. I've been in mortgage banking for 25 years, but apparently that's not good enough to be on the Land Bank Committee. After I submitted my application and was deleted, apparently there's an attorney that is now on that committee. Is that true? No more of this. We're not doing this. We are your bosses. You are our servants. And going forward, we're going to be shining a light on all these dark spaces. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Mikowski.
Good afternoon. Regarding stipends, perhaps there is a simpler methodology to use is have the stipend go into sunset month by month at 10% per month, and thereafter, for services that are questions that are necessary of those same areas would continue on without a stipend. In other words, for the next 10 months, you can lose that stipend 10%, and at the end of 10 months, it will be zero. And thereafter, the people involved will still be required to help whenever it is necessary. And this brought on the discussion which revealed some of the losses of information that the no plan for that occurred on May 11, 2021, the Kirk rolling motion that had no plans, and we were still getting starts like no plan. And we lived with them perhaps for a long time, including when we reached over $1 million in this arena. And in this discussion, we were seeking some information and hoping the commissioners would say that the finances are important for the benefit of the taxpayers and the people of this county. We did not hear this discussion at all, that the people of this county need to be properly represented and taken care of in regard to their best interests. Furthermore, I was astounded by the fact that government has grown so much that all the commissioners here, we have to browse through 500 pages of material to come to this meeting. This is why no person with a full-time job can ever serve on the county commission. Government has grown so much It's become a monster, impossible to control unless elected officials are locals, full-time people. The discussion today was talking about democracy. I don't think we have a democracy, but someone will have to help me understand, because I believe we have a republic. I was in the private sector and involved also in labor negotiations 3 times. 700 employees involved. And I was part of the management team, so I fully understand the need, all the help you can get in these negotiations. This includes international reps and other people. Extremely demanding process, and it is ongoing. You don't end up leaving a meeting and walk out the door and won't discuss anything for the next meeting you're going to have a week or 2 later. This is an ongoing, has to become a session if you're negotiating teams. Stay with it all the time, otherwise you're doing a disservice to the public. I hear the word stakeholders used here. My definition of a stakeholder, I'm looking it up, is one who knows the best. And I don't think there are any stakeholders in our discussions over here. And finally, we ran for public office about 30 years ago. Twice as a township trustee, and once as a township supervisor. All 3 times we lost by 5-6 votes, or last time by 35 votes, and our last loss was caused by a person well known in this community who wrote a letter to the editor that described my character. The Enterprise wrote a letter the day after publication apologizing for me for allowing that mean-spirited letter to be written. If you don't want to see it, I have a copy of it.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Any other public comment? Yes.
Jim Cole said, I heard mentioned several times earlier today that how the system works in regards to the election we just had. The system works. The system involves 2 major processes. One is the process itself, and one is a procedure to accomplish it. The procedure that I believe, let me back up a second. A problem with the procedure or the process or a combination of both could skew anything, any result from anywhere. Regarding the procedure, out of the last 3 years when I've observed the procedures that we use here at the voting machine accuracy test, I have seen nothing short of an excellent procedure in going through what was required, which I believe is grossly inadequate, but what was required by the state for our county clerk, Michelle, to do. She performed those flawlessly. She did a great job with procedures. She follows the state rules, the state directions to accomplish what the process is demanding. Process, on the other hand, is like ingredients. Maybe ingredients that you're aware of, maybe some that you're not. You had a golden opportunity at the beginning of this year, a golden opportunity to look deeper into what the ingredients were that we used in that election. If there would have been some back and forth earlier in February, you may have been brought up to speed or maybe a little bit more educated in exactly what the process that we use involves. I kind of regret that that opportunity was not taken by the board. You let it just pass by. You could have been up to speed on some of the activities and some of the things that go on within that process. That kind of falls on you. You had an opportunity, and it wasn't just that opportunity, it's been mentioned over the past several years at various levels. You kind of ignored the process. We took it on faith. That process, my primary process for decision-making in our election is software programs run by computers, which we have no clue how it's making its final decisions. Not just the decisions in the canvassing about doing an item count from voter to ballot. I'm talking about the more detailed precisions, which can easily be done accurately, but without any supervision, without knowledge, without transparency, which we don't have. No one can tell me how that machine sorts my decisions that I put on a ballot. And that was validated during this last voting machine accuracy test. When I posed that to that individuals there, and I got a response back that we cannot show you how your vote is counted. That concerns me gravely. Gravely. And that should have been brought up and discussed and investigated much earlier than even the beginning of this year. It fell on you. When you watched what I showed, it was up to you to make a decision. Those of you who stayed to watch it. Those of you who paid attention to watch it. That falls on you. You fund this process. I know by law you have to. At least you have to pay for it. But I believe an example would be, I think it was the 49ers. They had a contract with an individual player on that team. And that individual player proved to be destructive to the team. They had to pay his salary. They had to commit and pay off the contract. But they didn't have to play him. And they didn't. They benched him. That didn't happen that long ago. You had options. You ignored those options. I hope you can respond in detail, each of you, at your commissioner's comment section coming up now.
Thank you, Jim.
How you view it.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Any other public comment? Yes, Bill?
Got this part done.
Bill Wisner, Elmwood Township. The only way we can be assured of no fraud is if we have one person, one ballot, one vote. And the handout I just gave, I've heard over and over, we're concerned about this thing. Don't talk about all over the country, but all over the country, the machines are used. So if it can happen in other states, it can happen here. And so we see it happening. This is all over the country, this first one. It's looking at statistics showing election fraud evidence in the 2024 election. States Harris 1 versus ID requirement. And so Newsmax says a cultural class. Is there a theme amongst the states Harris 1? Well, if you look at them, there's some a little lighter and some a little darker. The lighter ones are the Republican ones that won for Republican, and the darker ones are the Democrat ones. And you see, no ID, no ID, no ID, or no photo through basically all the Democratic ones, and not hardly any in the Republican ones that we have. I don't see any. And I saw one little YouTube on a guy in California. He went in to the office and he said, "My name is John Doe," or it might not be. And my address is such and such, or it might not be. And he was being responded to, and he said, "And you can't question what I'm telling you, because that's what it says in the law, so you can't ask me for my ID." I mean, that's the insanity of it. And here's an example from Last night I was at a TCAPS meeting and an auditor came in. They come in once a year. They have a firm down, I believe it's in Lansing. They have 50 auditors just for the schools. And they cover 100 schools in Michigan. So that's basically, they do a lot of auditing in the schools, it sounds like to me. I mean, if that math works out right. And he says, whatever I come in and ask for, they give it to me. And they gave me everything I asked for. The voting, I would argue, is much more important than the schools. But we ask these machine companies for information, and no, that's proprietary. And what's their function? To add one more in each one. How proprietary can that be? So if you go on to page 2, I'll give an example from Arizona. The left part there, Republican Senate candidate Kerry Lake, and you see 2 charts. You see on the left, Trump won, and Kerry Lake got 139,000 votes less than Trump, both Republicans. And on the other side, Kamala lost, but the Senate candidate for the Democrat got 76,000 votes more. You wouldn't expect that at all. That's where everyone is suspicious about this. We can't see what's happening inside these machines. There's a simple solution. Ballots, you count them. It works. It's cheaper. It's less money, and people have a right to see what's happening. You can't judge what's happening inside these machines. And the last page is another example in Arizona. The House, looking at on the left side of the last page there, it says 74,000 people in Arizona voted for the Republican House candidate, but did not vote for the Republican Senate candidate. Both equal, like in a chess game, like rooks and bishops. Both are important. And but for the Democratic side, 109,000 more people in Arizona voted for their Democratic Senate candidate, but didn't do the same. They had 109,000 less for the House candidate. You know, it's just, they needed the votes to beat out Kerry Lake. And there's 3 other Senate national ones. How can we be sure who actually won those with these machines? We can't. Just one last comment on this handout, 48 pages. There's a couple of things on there, 3 questions to ask for the county clerk and all the individual clerks here, and the absolute, well, anyway, it's tcfamily.org. Check those out. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Any other public comment? Well, thank you for coming today. Any commissioner comment? Commissioner Ugar?
When are we going to discuss the meeting schedule that you put out for December? I have a beta meeting on the 12th.
Well,
1 o'clock.
we'll get to that when we go into our special meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's all part of your interview process.
Right,
Yeah.
I know, and
Yeah, I understand.
yeah, okay.
Any other commissioner comment? Yes.
On the new chairs, I wonder if we should have optional seat belts.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
I just had one. I'm really not quite sure. You know, we had an employee, Kathy spoke. She gave us some historical perspective about talk about a bumpy ride. What we had with some previous employees trying to get our finance and HR department off the ground. To say it was rough for a little while there, it was rough for a little while, and it was not real pretty. There were an enormous amount of mistakes being made that we just can't stand for here in the county. We've got to do this right. We absolutely got to do it right. So I'm happy we're moving in a direction where we're with all the checks and balances.
Thank you, thank you. I think now we're at approval of financials, Kathy. How many times have you had to get up and sit down today?
Have our own desk.
I'm good. All set. I would recommend approval of claims and accounts, $190,806.68.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0.
Recommend to approve post audit, $15,836,153.87.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Before we adjourn, we will reconvene at 1:20, okay?
Yep.
Your next meeting is a special meeting, so is that correct, Jim? I think we set our next meeting up as a general, so you can adjourn this meeting, you'll be meeting again.
But we need to know what time we're
Can we do 1:30?
1:30 is fine.
I forgot to bring food.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.
Jen, read of all the